Do you think that he's
I think
doing
I
it
think we I
just
think people
because?
shouldn't put the blame on
Hold on,
Trump.
Rush.
Like,
Hold on.
Yes, we're in the abyss.
Mike, do you think that he's doing it to kind of like promote or provoke Putin?
I don't think Trump even understands. I don't think he's that smart. Um, you can see his rhetoric on Ukraine is already very fraught and mindless. So, you know, I have no clue what rattles around in the hollow of Trump's head. But as far as is this a real serious policy? I mean, this is as nutty and dumb as renaming the Gulf of Mexico. We're in a world that has real problems. We have real issues that we have to confront, and stopping Russia's illegal invasion is one of them. So yeah, we shouldn't be promoting their propaganda, even their subtle propaganda, and we should be opposing that. And something this ridiculous should not be considered by serious people.
Thank you, Mike. So I have a question for Marvin and Mike and
Edmonds is here,
people.
by the way, recording and broadcasting. He's Earth
Okay,
Moon down in the bottom.
What?
okay. I don't care what he does. So the question I have, thank you for
Public
that.
app.
Hold on a second, guys. So I want to ask this question to the people that have served in the military. What do you think about the defense secretary getting approved yesterday?
Yeah, look, what people forget is that the Secretary of Defense is purposely an American non-military member, which means the qualifications for SecDev is you have to be a U.S. citizen, full stop. I personally am not a fan of Pete. Is it Hesketh? Is that how do you pronounce his name?
Hegseth.
Hegseth. Thank you. But just because I'm not a fan of his persona or his qualifications doesn't mean that he doesn't have the right to be Secretary of Defense. So the fact that it was a split and the fact that the vote came down to the VP, right? That's the way it goes. It's just like that's how the Constitution or our system functions, and he has every right to be and is the SecDev. So God bless and good luck.
But the guy is not qualified. He's a joke.
There's
And
no
our
agreed,
enemies, I'm sure, will be laughing at how incompetent he is.
agreed, but there is no qualification. The only qualification is U.S. citizen.
Well, I think I would.
Well, I mean, his
Well,
competence might be an issue.
Hold on a second, guys. Let Cam finish. Okay, Cam.
all I was gonna say. Ah, okay, sorry guys. All I was gonna say, I think when it comes to the idea of qualification, and I'm not a stan of anybody. Like I don't do this as like a stan, but it does seem to me that what I've noticed is that when people talk about qualifications, because I do believe that he has served, but when it comes to the idea of like qualifications, I actually think Marvin brought up a good point. Actually, I think that people do seem to mix up qualifications with the personality. Because somebody doesn't like the personality of somebody, they're automatically deemed unqualified. Because I don't think that people really necessarily, this isn't necessarily directed at Marvin, but it does seem, I think, that people don't necessarily do due diligence of the research of a candidate that's running for a certain position. Now, I'm not saying I have either, but I do find it really interesting that everybody does seem to say unqualified, and the only thing that people say is, oh, he was a Fox News host, or oh, he hasn't served before. I don't know. I haven't heard of him until the nomination, so I don't know if I would necessarily be making a statement like that without doing my own due diligent research, and how many people aren't doing their research as well. So I just think that people kind of mistake personality and the dislike of someone's personality to qualifications. I think we kind of conflate those two things sometimes, but that's all I wanted to say. Mike, go ahead. You were going to say something. I'm sorry.
Well, just the guy doesn't seem very competent. It doesn't seem like he has the temperament to do this job well. Now we'll have to see. I mean, I was no fan of Biden's SecDef, who had all the qualifications on paper, but him teamed with Biden was a very weak team that led to a lot of military problems around the world. So I'll give this guy the benefit of the doubt, but from the looks of it, it's quite bad. So we'll see where it goes. But in total, I mean, the totality of Trump's team is just not very intelligent. And what's their strategies going to be in these difficult issues? It's not clear that they have a good strategy on either Ukraine nor even Israel. So all of these issues with domestic policy, I think they're focusing on the wrong issues. And when it comes to foreign policy, it seems like they want to antagonize our friends. They want to turn the coalition of the willing, the coalition of the people, who support the rules-based order. They want to turn that on its head. So that's going to be bad for Americans long term, as will
Well,
closing off immigration.
thank you,
So the
Mike.
policies are terrible, and American.
I can't listen to him. He has no respect for the space. Mike, you can come back up, but you got to let other people talk, bro. Otherwise, it's a
Thank
fucking
you.
echo chamber. So one thing that happened yesterday was Secretary of State Rubio has told the State Department to no longer accept applications for passports unless you check off you're a man or a woman. So people that were checking off
Oh,
just
really?
X. Oh yeah,
Really?
I'm gonna pin an article to the top. Unless you say
Wow.
so, to me that's a big deal. So let me say, Marvin.
Dang.
Hold on, let me say good morning to Matt real quick. What's up, Matty? Good morning.
Good morning, JB. Just waking up, man. Listening.
Yeah, Marvin, I'm gonna pin an article to the top where Secretary of State Rubio bans passport with X gender markers after Trump order. So
Okay.
I think they've
Uh, like, so are we going to okay, so I mean, there are people who don't fit under the criteria, even if you look at sex. Like, there are conditions like testicular feminizing syndrome. People are immune to androgens. So they're just like, uh, they are born immune to testosterone. So genetically,
Dr.
they
Ray,
have,
Dr. Ray, please, respectfully. And I'm just going to say this, and I have nothing against the LBGTQ XYZ community. They
it's,
can people could.
they're
Hold on, let me
they're not
finish. Let
LGBT.
me finish.
They're not,
Let
they're
me.
not LGBT.
Okay. Why are you yelling? I'm not yelling at you. I want to say something to you.
Yeah.
In
No,
my
you were
mind,
loud. Sorry.
thank you. In my mind, in my world, either you're born with a cock or a penis. I mean, a cock or a pussy. That's it. You're a man or a woman.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So
go ahead.
if like, okay, so you don't acknowledge genetic identity.
I acknowledge if you're born with a penis or a pussy.
Okay. So you don't acknowledge. No, no. My question is, you don't acknowledge. You don't recognize the. So you particularly, not like everyone, because obviously people are different. Some people talk about XXXY.
Ray, I speak for
You
Just
myself.
particularly, do,
I speak for myself. I don't speak for anybody else. I don't listen.
yeah.
I feel. Hold on a second. I feel that everybody has a right to live the life they want to live. I have nothing against anybody. If you want to label yourself a pussycat, be my guest. But when it comes to the government, they have a right to enforce whatever rules they feel is best for society.
Well,
I'm
it's not.
genetically
It's
a
Okay.
nothing but.
helicopter.
It's nothing but attacking transvestites. It's
No,
it's it's and
Mike,
it
Mike, Mike,
comes
Mike.
as
Like,
they're ignoring other more serious issues.
Attack.
no,
They want to
no.
ignore global warming and pretend that it's not happening, that we don't have a climate crisis. But let's attack transvestites, one of the most marginalized groups in all of human history. Let's abuse this tiny group, but let's ignore the real problems.
Mike,
I
you
How's
want to
it?
should
say
Wait,
one
wait,
more
tra-
hold
you
thing.
on,
should be
hold
a
on, hold on, hold
transvestite
on.
in solidarity, Mike.
Hold on. Mike, how's it attacking transvestites? I'm just curious.
Well, I mean, these are people who don't have a normal gender identity. That's why they are transvestites. All right. And transvestites have been around since all of human existence, but they're a very, very, very tiny minority group. And therefore, it's convenient for these bigots to target them as if transvestites were the real problem and
Wait, hold
not
on.
the
Wait,
fact
So
that
wait,
we're
wait,
just
wait a
okay,
second.
okay.
Wait a
destroying
But
what
second.
can
they
Wait,
were
okay,
wait,
can I
wait,
cut
wait,
in?
doing.
wait,
Can I cut
wait,
in?
wait.
Can I cut
Hold
in?
on.
Can I cut?
Hold on a second. So, Mike, I want to ask you a question respectfully. You think my statement that I said people are either born with a penis or born with a pussy is bigoted?
I think it's missing the point that transvestites are real, okay? And determining their gender for them is not society's pressing issues, whereas there are real pressing issues like the climate crisis. The climate crisis is getting worse and worse and worse, yet this administration wants to not only pretend that it's not even a crisis, they want to do everything possible to make it worse. But at the same time, they're redirecting everyone's anger to this tiny marginalized group that basically causes no problems, almost no problems whatsoever. So, yeah, it's very disingenuous, bigoted, and ignorant.
Oh, I think
Well,
I would
hold on. Let
argue.
me wait. Let me just say this, Cam, and then I'm going to go to Cam and Ray and Double Agent. Let me tell you something, bro. And you're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to mine. But when you got transvestites reading books to school kids, I have an issue with that. They shouldn't be bringing their sexuality into class. Dead Cam.
All I was gonna say was I think when it comes to I think that when it comes to LGBTQ, I think that like I feel like when people are referring to LGBTQ, I think it would be more behooving to just say trans because I think that that's what a lot of people are referring to, because I actually don't think that LGBTQ really equates to anything or anything at this point other than like transgender people, which is which than transgender, which is fine. But I also think at the same time, with it being, I think where some of the issue sort of, I think with Mike, not with Mike, but with the point of him saying like of it being such a small minority of a small group of people, which I do believe is true. I think sometimes the issue can be that maybe that we treat the small minority as the overwhelming majority, and that's not necessarily the case. And if we're going to talk about LGBTQ, then it has to be for all gay, all lesbian, and bisexual people included in that, not specifically just trans people. But that was all I was going to say.
Thank you, Cam. So before we continue, Mike, I pinned an article to the top. Secretary of State Marco Rubio bans passports with X gender markers after Trump order. But Mike, before you go, Double Agent was trying to jump in, and so was Dr. Ray. Double Agent?
Thanks, Jay. Yeah, I just got so like the things Mike's been saying. It could be a troll. It's just I don't know. I'm kind of exhausted at this point. I'm
Dr.
sorry.
Ray? It's
You
okay,
got an
Doctor.
argument of any kind?
Hold on, Mike.
Okay,
Dr. Ray, go
so
ahead.
Mike, hold on, Mike, hold on. Okay, so there. Okay, so um, the problem with defining people, even you're talking about cock and pussies, testicular feminizating syndrome aside, genetics aside, uh, about 1.7% of the population on average uh, have both penises and vaginas because they are intersex of different developmental issues. You think 1.7% not that big. When we consider the population of the earth is 8 billion people, that is still 137 billion people. My math's not that great, but like approximately 137 million people that have mixed genitalia. It's unfortunately just the way genetics work. So I think forcing like trans and people identify as a particular gender aside, all that those arguments aside, people who scientifically and medically have genitalia of a certain gender, there is still this like 137 million, which is not a small number. That's a population of many countries. Uh, like the population in New Zealand where I live is 5 million, so it's like, uh, yeah, it's 20 times that. There are that many people in the world who have both those genitalia. How does Marco Rubio the his plan apply to those people?
They won't get passports.
That sucks, right?
Or
That's
they'll
that's
just
a
check one of the
infringement of the.
boxes and back to normal life, It's a
But
non-issue.
but but Mike, no, Mike. Like you like. if there are people at the if TSA goes and checks them, and like the TSA feels like the person has checked off penis first, but the TSA person feels a vagina first on the examination, they'll think, hey, you're faking that, and that poor person who like
No,
they're born with that, they have no choice for that.
that's
It
not.
gets
That's not
like
how it works. It's not how it works. No.
what? That's not how it works.
Well, it's not how what you just described is not true. So that's not how it works.
Tell me that
But
what's
that's
on
not
the
the
tell,
but
tell
that's
me
not the
what's
issue
on
that
no
matters.
no Mike. This is between me and Marvin. Sorry, Marvin, please continue.
There's nothing to continue. It's what you just said. It's not true.
What's not true?
Well, the TSA doesn't check whether you have a penis and doesn't check it
I
against
mean,
your passport. So,
like the point of a passport is
Dr.
to
Ray,
check the person is
it's
the correct pass person.
look, it's false. What you just said is false.
As a person of color who's been checked
I'm,
through security, uh,
again,
I think people check to see that you're the correct person.
again,
And
Wait,
and
wait,
again,
wait,
again,
wait, 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 wait. Have they made you pull your pants down to see if you had a cock?
You know what?
people get checked. I mean, as a person of color, I have been checked through security.
again. It's a
It's a
false
factor of
statement.
life.
It's a false statement.
That's
Your
amazing.
package does not get checked at TSA, and then TSA does not check whether or not the package was there or not against your passport.
You're telling me no one feels it. No one feel. I've been like they pat you down. You're telling me they
Again,
I
don't
gotta
That's
pat
pat
yeah, but
again.
that's
your.
yeah, but that's just checking to see if you have
Have you
buttons,
never been
though.
pat down? Have you never been pat down?
Maybe you're having a
Yeah,
hard
I
time
have.
understanding me. Maybe I'm not being clear,
I
right?
mean,
But your
no.
package
Have
does
you
not
never been
get
pat down,
checked.
Marvin?
I have, but it's
I
I
mean,
not.
it gets
definitely have
pat
examined
down.
mine multiple times.
But they don't. I have, but they don't necessarily do it for that. It's not to see if you have a penis.
How do you know why they're doing it? Are you a TSA agent?
No, I'm not a
But
TSA
if they're
No,
patting you
agent.
down,
They are looking
They're looking
specifically.
to see if you have weapons.
They're looking for specifically any type of indication of wire, of metal, of contraband, right? They're not looking
hmm
for your package.
but if a hermaphrodite is checked and the person is ticked off female, and they tap them down and they find like the vestigial penis, would that not flag
Wait,
issues for
Because
Again,
them?
that's a
no.
hold on a
hypothetical
second.
hyperbole that we don't need to address.
Hold on a second. What happens if somebody gets a passport and they check off female, and after they get their passport, they decide to become trans? It's just that overwhelming urge to start dressing
What
like a man. Hold on, Ray, 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 Ray,
I'm talking about
Ray, Ray.
scientific.
I'm talking about real life, bro. So what happens if they switch after they get their passport? You think the TSA is going to start feeling around for somebody's cock? Come on, bro. That's bullshit. But Marvin, I was thinking about it before. We got 4 new hostages that were
Wait,
released this
you
morning.
how do you ask a question? Now let me ask.
Okay, because I can't listen to you yelling.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh,
So,
jeez.
so Marvin, 4 hostages were released today, and I honestly, wholeheartedly believe that none of this deal happens if Trump wasn't president. What do you think?
Um, look, I, I kind of agree. I mean, I think that Trump came out with a history of being a DICK and a history of being a hardliner, and I think that's kind of scary. So having that as the backdrop, and maybe like usually what happens is there is backdoor communication, right? There is conversations occurring and saying, look, here's what we're going to do if you don't fucking do this. So
So my
sure,
understanding is that the murderers of the Fogel family are now being released in this deal. So once again, the Palestinian terrorists got what they wanted out of Israel by
yeah,
kidnapping.
they did,
So
they did.
so I think this is a big mistake.
I think so
It
too.
just guarantees more terrorism and kidnapping unless there's some kind of change of the equation.
Well, let's see what happens. Because this is just a ceasefire, right? Let's see. Will Israel have
Well,
the
it's going to be very hard to return to the war without a casus belli. An additional thing, there's going to be enormous pressure on Israel not to return to the war and to basically allow Hamas to survive. whatever the consequences. Obviously, we see the international community doesn't care about what happens to Israelis. We see that clearly in so many ways, whether it's the UN, whether it's the Red Cross, whether it's the BBC. Obviously, Al Jazeera is on the side of the terrorists. So, yeah, I mean, it's nice to get these people back, but the cost is way, way, way too high and shouldn't have been done.
Well, I don't think they're going to honor the entire ceasefire anyway. I don't think they're not going to see it through to the end. The Palestine Hamas, but and they also not honoring the deal they made, Marvin. The deal was that they would release civilians first, women civilians first, then army IDF soldiers. But they released 4 IDF soldiers, and I don't care who they get out as long as they get them out. But I don't see this deal going to the end.
But people are talking about peace, they're talking about two-state solution. It's completely delusional. This is a victory for the Palestinians so far.
Um, will
They
will
don't
the U.S.
care about how many people died. They
will
don't
the
care
U.S.
that their
send troops?
houses were destroyed. They're
Jay.
they are proceeding on reducing Israel's deterrent
Yeah,
capability
yeah, yeah.
and making Israel an unsuitable place to live by destroying the rule of law.
Jay, do you think?
So it's a big
Do
mistake.
you think Trump will send in troops? Jay.
That's a great question. I think the possibilities there. I don't think he'd have an issue sending the troops. But
Israel
what,
would never agree to that
Mike?
Why?
Hold on a
Why?
second, bro.
Why would Israel never agree to that?
because it's against their doctrine. Israel
They're
has a
American hostage.
doctrine of never allowing foreign troops to fight for Israel. It's part of the core of the IDF's doctrine.
I don't think Donald Trump gives a shit of whether Israel agrees to it or not. To be honest with you, do I think it's a possibility, Marvin? I'd say there's probably 50-50. It depends. What's the red line in the sand for Trump to send troops in?
I mean,
Well,
they
put it
wouldn't
this way.
be able to go there without Israel agreeing.
Well, put it this way. Israel's kind of gone a little bit against its doctrine by allowing the supply chain to be all from America, right? So there's a slight little caveat there about
Which they're dealing with. They're now opened a new munitions plant to make bombs and other things.
sure.
So
I mean,
that's
so
something that they're
dealing with and
aware
having are
of.
two different things, right?
My feeling is that there is significant moves in under the surface in Israel right now that the majority of Israelis are not content with the status quo, and that sooner or later this Netanyahu government is going to be gone, and there's going to be a much more hawkish government that's going to be much more decisive. That's my feeling on it.
Well, I don't think they were decisive because Biden was indecisive. Matt, you were trying to jump in?
I was trying to figure out your question, or whoever asked the question about what is Trump's red line. I think that was raised. Did
Yeah,
we?
that was
Did
my question. Like,
yeah,
what?
JB? What do you think it is? I say if we had more hostages and they were killed, that would be the red line. I don't know
Uh,
how many are left. That's why I said that. Not that I
I
want any
mean, it just
hostages.
doesn't make sense to make everything centered around these hostages. That just plays right into the terrorist strategy.
You gotta start somewhere. I don't know where you're starting, but
Well, I
yeah.
mean, it used to be a policy and still a policy of the U.S. not to negotiate with terrorists. Now, they break
hold on a
that in some
second,
cases,
Michael.
but
Michael, hold on one second, because I want to finish what I was saying to Marvin about troops. I also think what happens in Syria plays into it because we don't hear about Syria anymore. Other countries, I have a problem with the Biden administration that they were giving so much power to Qatar, who supports these terrorist organizations. They shouldn't have even been at that negotiation table, just my opinion. But I think Syria plays into this, Marvin. I don't think he really gives a shit. I don't know what his relationship with Netanyahu is, but I don't think Trump cares either way. Do I see American troops? It's possible. What do you think, Marvin? You think he sends in troops?
Again, I think it's if it was I put it this way, I think if there was ever the time, it would be now. if there was ever the situation, we didn't have those Muse and aircraft carriers off the coast there for no reason. And so I think Trump understands that. I think that although Hezbollah and Syria have completely really calmed down to almost nothing, it's a different strategy, right? But
I'll tell
I
you, Marvin. I think, and don't even mute up. I just want to get your opinion on this.
yeah, yeah.
In my opinion, in the next 4 years, there's going to be regime change in Iran.
But what does it say about Israel if Israel can't defeat Hamas on its own?
It says that Israel can't defeat Hamas on its own.
Which is a disaster for Israel's security. It means that basically they're
Well,
helpless and they have to outsource their security to someone else.
I
And
wouldn't go that
basically
far.
everything that they say about Israel depending on the US, which is a lie, would be true. So that's
Mike,
another terrorist talking point. If that comes to pass, well, it's another nail in Israel's coffin.
Mike, you got to stop interrupting, bro. Marvin, what do you think about what I said about a regime change in Iran in the next 4 years?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I think that regime change is still long away. I think it's still about when the Ayatollah dies. I think that'll be the catalyst and the window of opportunity.
Isn't he
I don't know
like
if
in
that.
his 80s, that guy?
Yeah, he's late. Yeah, he's old. He's old.
There's no serious armed opposition to the IRGC.
Yeah.
So who exactly is going to overthrow them? Butterflies?
Coffee time.
I'm going to be pinging people in. If anybody wants to come up, raise your hands. You're in Healthy Debates, Coffee and Conversation, sponsored by American Grit.
Let me ask though, since we were talking about Trump, do you guys believe that global warming is a crisis?
No,
I'm a fan of global warming. I like when it's 70 degrees in February in New York.
So that's a no. Anybody else?
no,
I think it's a crisis for a lot of, especially megafauna. A lot of species on Earth are going extinct, but it's not a problem for humans specifically.
Malone,
So
hold on,
all
Mike.
the scientists are wrong,
Hold
but
on,
somehow
Mike.
random people know
Wait, who
better.
gives a fuck, Mike? Stop it. Malone, every day in this planet, a species goes extinct. It has nothing to do with global warming.
No, it's just people are burying their head in the sand. It's denialism. People are profiteering off of what causes global warming. And then the consequences are going to slam everybody in the face, just like they have recently. We see that all of these natural disasters are much more intense. And this is just the beginning. So, I'm going to be laughing, but I know in the future
Why
that
would you
people's
laugh at
opinion
that?
will be very different.
Why
why is
would you
there,
laugh, Mike?
Mike? Why is there
Why would
half
I
a
be glad?
foot?
Because what else can you do except laugh at such a an obvious disaster that people have chosen not to even believe in.
Mike,
I think
why?
it's pretty sick to
Mike,
just
why is there
laugh.
half a foot of snow in New Orleans right now?
Well, I mean that's all related. It's basically the previous climate patterns have shifted, but that doesn't prove that global warming isn't there. I mean, 2004 was the hottest year on record. Again, if you average out the temperatures, we have an atmosphere that is heating up, and it's heating up rapidly
Mike,
because of
Mike,
human
Mike, Mike,
activity.
Mike,
It's
Mike.
not going to stop.
By time it happens, I can't listen to him all fucking morning. By time that happens, right, we'll all be gone. I like global warming. I'm a fan of 70 degrees in New York in fucking January and February. The truth is, Mike, more people give a fuck about the price of eggs than global warming. That's what they give a fuck about. Matt, you were gonna say something?
By the way, I think it's more likely that there's global cooling going on, JB, at the end of the day. And I'm with you. I'd rather take global warming. I mean, who wouldn't want a bunch of sunlight and sun just about, 24 hours?
Bro, Earth has gone through Temperature changes since Earth was formed. Ice ages, heat wave, all this other bullshit. So, I mean, come on, man. You talk about they grab the lowest hanging fruit and they scream on top of their soapbox. Enough. Mike, I can't bring you back up because I moved you down too many times. So you're stuck in the VIP section crying down there. Yeah, I try to give you grace and space to say what you have to say, but you have no respect for other speakers. And you know what, Mike? This might be a shocker to you. You're not always right. You're not. Yeah, I'm incompetence. I don't give a fuck about scientific literacy. I give a fuck about paying my mortgage, my car bill, my gas, and all that other shit. Fucking cares about, what are you, Greta Thunberg? You're the Greta Thunberg of fucking Clubhouse?
By the way, definitely none of us are going to be around for anything that happens that's drastic. And of course, I would even go as far as to say that none of our children, their children, and so on. So I don't. I mean, a lot of it is just actually, for all I know, the planet probably won't be around. It'll be something else that gets us. The climate change is on. If there was like 50 points of things that could like end humanity, it's probably number 50. To be quite honest.
Hey, Maddie, let's check this out. I wish Norm was here, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because Norm has done documentaries with former Vice President Al Gore. And the reason I bring that up is, do you know how rich Al Gore's gotten off green living and global warming? Hundreds of
Fil-
millions of dollars.
Filthy
Hundreds of
rich.
millions.
Yeah.
Filthy rich. I tell you what, if he did it for free, then I'd have respect and I'd be like, you know what, maybe there's an issue there. But since he's grabbing money with both fucking hands, I don't really give a fuck. Capitalism at its best.
Al Gore flies privately to events to talk about how bad global warming is.
Um, I dare anybody to give me a reason why I should give a fuck about global warming, because I don't give a fuck about global warming. I made a statement earlier and I meant it. Donald Trump has done more in 5 days than Biden did in 4 years. What's up, Sig? How you doing, my friend? I mean, it's ridiculous. People want to get on these talk. They want to talk about transgender rights because Marco Rubio signed an order that says that the State Department will no longer issue passports unless you check you're a man or a woman. What the fuck is wrong with that? I don't. Why scream about that? You got idiots like fucking Mike Frager talking about global warming and transgender. The transgender people are being beaten up. They're 0.0% of the world population, but let's worry about them. The fuck out of here. I'd rather talk about America, American military might, about being proud to be an American today. Because I tell you what, for those 4 years under Biden, I can't say I woke up saying, damn, I'm proud to be an American today. The last 5 days, 6 days, I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud of my president. I didn't even vote for this fucking guy. How about that?
Yeah, it's pure TDS. I mean, Mike is like, I just wish he were more intelligent. It's just so hard to listen to such an idiot.
I mean,
I know.
we got so much going on, Matt, in this country right now. We got fucking wildfires, people losing their homes. Trump wants to disband FEMA. I agree with that. Disband. If they're incompetent, why do we pay our taxes into that fucking organization? I'm just curious.
Did you watch his press conference with Mayor Bass and basically the dumb leadership of California and what a roasting they got, JB? You have to check that out. It was just epic Trump.
I didn't see the press conference, but I know that he came out and said she has executive powers where she could call in certain organizations to help with that, and she hasn't. She's incompetent. I got to be honest with you. I've never been to California. Maybe one day I'll get there. But the fact that this retard hasn't been fucking recalled yet is beyond me. There should be millions of votes on million signatures getting rid of this woman. How's she still? This is the libtards. Look at the libtard. I'll tell you one thing, man, about my city. Our mayor's all fucked up. He's indicted federally. I don't know if the charges are fair or not. But you know what? At least this man sees things. He's like, you know what? I'm going to give Daddy Donald a hand job under the table because he's going to help my city. This dumb bitch in California, she don't care. Let the city burn down. And I'm going to get off my rant right after this. I don't speak for anybody else, but there's a couple of gentlemen in this room that I have a lot of respect for. And I'm just curious if they have the same sense that I have. The sense of it's okay to be a man again. It's okay to speak your mind. You don't have to worry about cancel culture anymore. I love that. We were under this fucking shadow that we couldn't just speak freely. It's okay to be a man again. You could tell a woman, hey, nice PTR without being fucking canceled. It's amazing.
Yeah. For me, it's a white male in a predominantly non-white workplace where you can finally feel that you're not going to be sent to the next gulag of DEI for things that you've done. And that's the biggest thing for me. My last DEI training that I had, I just unbelievably couldn't. I just couldn't believe what I was listening to, and I took off on that company. Forget that.
But bro, let's unpack that before I say good morning to Sig. Can somebody in here, I don't care which libtard comes up on stage, I promise I'll give you all the space and grace to spew your shit. Can you explain to me how DEI ever made sense to anybody? Like real sense, not bullshit, not in your feelings. Because DEI is one of the worst things that ever happened to this country. Good morning, Sig, my friend.
Hey, good morning. What's going on, man? What's up, JB? Yeah, no, I agree, man. DEI is a bunch of horseshit. I'm laughing at the training because I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, whenever you get this fucking diversity training and like they show these characters on the PowerPoints and shit, it's always like the same like cliche DEI guys. Like, it's the black guy with the dreads with the frosted tips. It's the fucking Arab chick with the fucking hijab. It's the gay dude in the wheelchair. Like, you never just see a normal fucking American in this training modules, bro. So I know exactly what you're talking about, man. It's hilarious.
I couldn't do it, Sig. I had to walk out. I was just like, I can't do this anymore.
Yo, I walked out of a job. This was a long, long time ago. But I walked out of a job and it was the they had DEI training there and they had trannies working there, which is cool. I mean, look, people have a right to be who they want to be. This is America. As long as you ain't forcing shit down people's throats, like it is what it is. I don't give a shit. But they had trannies working there and they put heavy emphasis on, we respect people's pronouns and we respect what people identify as. So I raised my hand and I'm like, okay, if we respect what people identify as, then I identify as the CEO of this company. So where's my office? Where's my salary? Where's my car? And you could just tell like the dude, like the gears were turning in his fucking head. And I said, he's like, well, we can't take it that far. And I said, so why is it that some people's identities get respected, but mine doesn't? That doesn't sound like inclusivity to me. And it just totally fucking wrecked his argument, bro. It was fucking hilarious. And I walked out after I walked out that same day. I never went back. But it's like these people are just going with the program because they know it's bullshit, but nobody has balls anymore is to fucking question the status quo and question the bullshit, man. And it's sad.
Well, let's unpack that, Sig. Because the statement I made, I really made with you in mind. It's okay to be a man again. It's okay to speak your mind. Like that seems to be lost in society, right? Women always say, "Hey, I want a real man," until that real man shows up. He's misogynistic. He's blah blah blah. But let me tell you something. And I
Toxic,
said
bro.
it's toxic masculinity. I've been called toxic masculinity. I don't give a fuck. Label me what you want. You don't know me. But let me tell you one thing I do know is when I wake up every day, bro, I'm proud to be a man, a good man. I'm proud to be an American now. And I even though I didn't vote for him, thank you, Donald Trump.
Yeah, man, Donald Trump is yeah, he's definitely made it okay to be a fucking man again, bro. And this is the biggest thing. The more feminized a society we get, it becomes about how you're feeling and then it's like, yeah, you close down conversation, you shut down dialogue. Like that's the only way to make progress is to just throw ideas out there and see what sticks. And the more feminized we get as a society, the more there's a stranglehold on conversation and dialogue because people are too worried about offending. And well, when you're too worried about offending, then you limit ideas, man, and we stay stagnant. And if you think about the dynamic between men and women, women pretty much do stay stagnant. Like because they're worried about the social hierarchy. They're worried about making people. Think about this, man. Think about as little boys and little girls. Think about the games that we play. Boys typically tend to play games that establish dominance and social hierarchy, right? So we play football, baseball, like there's a clear winner and there's a clear loser. But think about the things that women play, little girls play: patty cake, hopscotch, jump rope. Like there's never any defined winner because they don't want to hurt feelings. They don't want anybody feeling left out. So when you have a society that's ran by, estrogen and feminine energy, this is what happens, man. You end up getting incompetent people into positions. They end up making incompetent decisions, and then they affect everybody else, and everything just starts crumbling.
Well, and I agree with you. But let me say this: people overlook it all the time, and that's fine. I don't. But one of the things I loved was when Johnny Depp won his trial because he refused to be canceled, and it wasn't that long ago where those accusations would have canceled that man in life. So to me, Johnny Depp's one of my heroes. He stood up for men, and the feeling that permeates now, man, it's a good feeling. We could be ourselves again. That hasn't been that way in a long time. Sid, before you came into the room, we were talking about Secretary of State Marco Rubio bans passports with X gender markers after Trump's order, right? And there were certain people that got really offended by this because the 0.1% of transgender in America have more rights than you and me. Imagine that, Sig. Good morning, Sean.
Hey, Jay, Matt, Sig, Bell's doing all right?
Hey, good morning, Sean. What's going on, brother? Good to see you, man.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, just check it in, see if you guys have solved any of the world's problems yet.
No, not yet, but we'll get there eventually. At least we got leadership in place now, Sean. Just imagine what this country would have been like if she would have won.
Don't. That's a nightmare. I just don't even want to envisage. Nope, not for me.
Good morning, Albie.
Morning, guys. What's up? Great conversation. Love where you're going with this. It's it's inspiring.
Well, Albie, let me say this, man. Thank you. But when Trump said this is a golden age for America, guess what? I believe him. I actually believe this man. And Matt will tell you, Matt's MAGA as they come. I used to bash Trump all the time. I still bash him if he fucks up. But there hasn't been, since in the last 6 days, one thing he's done that I said, I don't agree with that. He finally had his ear to the ground to the American people.
Yep. And what are we, 5 days in? Is that where we're at? 6 days? I can't keep track. But the amount of speed and just how fast he's moving is, even I'm just kind of like surprised because I don't think his first term, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think it moved as quickly as it's doing as it right now. Maybe I'm wrong, but am I
Well, you
missing
know what,
something,
Matt?
JD, or no?
No, not at all. But he's the first politician, and this is no bullshit in my lifetime that went on a campaign trail, made let's say 50 promises. So far, he's kept every one of them except one. He hasn't ended the war in Ukraine yet, but I believe that's coming. But this man came in like his hair was on fire, and he has signed these executive orders, and he's kept every promise he's made on the campaign trail. And listen, no matter what you think about January 6th, right? It was my opinion to pardon these people was the right move to start healing America. That's my opinion.
Hey guys, hey Zig, hey Matt, hey JB, Marvin, good to hear you
Good,
guys.
good morning, Andre.
Hey, good morning, Andre.
I think it is a little premature to say that he has, already fulfilled his promises. He's on his way. It certainly looks like uh, he's committed to fulfilling them. Like I'll put it this way. I mean, how many of them will actually come to fruition? That's yet to be seen. Especially with the, like the fray of executive orders, which I think many of them will kind of die at that stage, like the one with redefining the birthright citizenship. I don't think it's going to fly. However, like that the thing that's posted in the top of the room and his position towards two biological sexes only, getting all that ideological transgenderism out of the government. I think that is actually will fly. Although there is going to be a bunch of lawsuits that will challenge that executive order. I don't think it works to the advantage of the left wing activists because
Well,
that's quoted
Andre,
is fairly conservative.
Andre, you don't have to even mute up. Let me just say this.
Sure.
You know what? You know what makes me happy about what he's doing, whether they come to fruition or not. At least he's taking
He's
action.
doing something. Yeah,
At
at least
least
he's doing
we had,
something.
bro. We had 4 years of a guy that was in a fucking coma. And let me tell you something. I've been a lifelong Democrat my whole life, and I've never been more ashamed of my party for the inaction they took on Biden, that they allowed him to run again, knowing he was in this condition. Shame on them. God bless Donald Trump.
Well, it's I think that's why he is such a effective populist is because he is he's a welcome change from what politics as usual seem to kind of come into this lull of nothing is ever gets done. People attempt, but nothing like nobody really puts their heart into it, and it does seem like at least for optics he is. He looks like he's working his butt off to fulfill the promises.
Well,
Whether
Andre, let me
it's
let me, let me say this real quick. You don't have to mute up. Let me just say this. Donald Trump, and I wholeheartedly believe his first term was a failure. But Donald Trump is ego driven. He's all about ego. He knows this
oh,
is his
big time.
chance. This is his chance to write his legacy and make it right compared to the first term. I mean, listen, yeah, COVID played into it, other factors, but I think he's going to do the right thing this time because he wants his legacy to be strong.
Well, too, I think he's got the experience now. He learned his first term how many backstabbers there are. I think he's learned that he can't trust everybody. He's got to be very, very picky and decisive on who he includes in his team. So I think he's a little bit smarter, a little bit wiser going in this time, and he knows who the bullshitters are, man.
Well,
I mean,
Sig, I agree with that, Sig, but I also think that he's learned to listen to his people instead of be a bull in a china shop. Get Andre.
no, I was just gonna say, Zick. I mean, I will take the little bit, but I don't think one term, even as the president of the United States, gives you a full perspective of how many people are bullshitting in politics and the depth of the shit that they're bullying. So I mean, I still think he's going to be taken advantage of politically. Sometimes it might be actually produce good results because there are like people like Rubio and JD Vance. I consider them more towards the moderate, even though like they publicly have come out to be pro MAGA. So I think it's going to be uh, a presidency that's going to have net positive at the end of it.
When's the last time you heard a president say, "I'm going to do what makes sense and is practical"? When have you ever heard a president say, just there's
I'll bet they all
oh wait,
say
wait,
that.
hold on. So there's a fire. Let's get water on it. There's an inflation problem. Let's do some monetary work to try to fix it. There's an immigration problem, which is obvious. Let's try to fix it. When did that happen in the last 4 years?
I'll bet they all say or claim that they're doing the most sensible, the most reasonable, practical thing. The question is
Do
whether
they
it is
actually say it
actually
out loud for the
exactly.
public?
Oh yeah,
When's
yeah,
the
oh
last?
yeah. I mean, that's how they
Oh, they
sell
do.
themselves. Come
They
on,
do.
man. That's
Okay.
how they sell it. But then the question is more whether it is produces the result that they intend or not, and that's yet to be seen. I mean, it looks like at least some of his policies are going to create positive outcomes.
Good morning, Anthony.
I'm eating breakfast, so I don't want to be rude and talk with my mouth full. But yo, good morning to all my brothers. Yo, some of my favorite people on Clubhouse. JB in the building, Marvin, Matt, Sig.
What's going on, Anthony? What up, bro? Good to see you, man. Good morning.
Anthony, I know you eat your pancakes, but I made a statement earlier.
Oh wait. Are we meeting for pancakes, Jay? Are we going for pancakes? Because
Are you coming to Brooklyn? You come to Brooklyn, I'll pay.
Which pancake place? It's only 10 o'clock.
Oh, dude, there's a great place on Avenue U right by my house.
I want pancakes. I want Anthony to be there.
Anthony's in Atlanta, bro. He ain't flying up for us. He's a big shot now. Anthony, I made a statement earlier that Donald Trump has done more in 5 days than Joe Biden did in 4 years. So when you're done chewing, let me know what you think.
Brother, I could not agree more. I could not agree more. Truer words have never been spoken, bro. Like, they really messed up, man. Yeah, they stole the election, it's all good. But they created a monster. Donald Trump had 4 years to plan, to figure, to learn from his previous administration. He's got a bunch of outsiders. I know Hegseth, it came down to the wire, JD at the, cast the deciding vote. But it's like I'm happy that I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I really feel if Kamala had won, she would have led us into World War III. That's just my opinion.
I think I think we are in World War III. I think this is the modern version of World War. I don't see it conventional in the way that World War II or World War One was, but that's beside the point. I think that I'll be honest with you. Watching ICE collect people with um, convictions and you know uh, Interpol warrants and people that have been um, running from the police and the law, the long arm of the law. I think that should have been done by the Biden administration. I think all presidents should have done that. And I think it's one of the reasons why the Democrats lost, because they lost a vision of what needed to be done versus politicking. I don't think it's going to get past. I don't think the immigration ICE collection is going to get past those types of arrests and deportations, right? I think universally everyone can agree individuals that have been convicted with warrants should be deported.
I don't think anybody on stage would disagree with that, Martin. And it should have been done by the Biden administration, but he was in a coma for the last 2 years. So, like I said, I don't know how the Democrats recover from the beating they just took when they're so concerned trying to stop Donald Trump still, instead of reorganizing their party and getting some real leadership. Albie?
So
Yeah,
you
I just want to talk about the immigration for a heartbeat and hear the collective view on it. Does anyone really believe over the last 4 years that the government's priority or one of their highest priorities was to enforce illegal immigration and to promote legal immigration?
I'll bet. Okay, so let's not beat around the bush. Like both parties take advantage of illegals in different manner and for political reasons
But
and for
that's not the
economical
question.
reasons.
That's not
Hold
the
on,
question.
hold on. So either administration was not until perhaps now was not really interested in fixing the problem. They were just interested in getting the best position towards the problem so they can reap the best political benefits. So I mean that's what was before the current administration. So both, whether Democrats or Republicans we're talking about, they were trying to reap the benefits of the illegal immigrants. And very quickly, Jay, to your kind of statement, I think it's kind of sad to see that they have not learned their lesson and they keep doing the same type of like fake outrage, like what's happening with Musk right now. I mean, if they focus that amount of energy and conviction behind something that will actually advance their political position, I think they would go far. But I mean, they don't seem to get it.
Well, I'll
Andre,
say,
did
get in.
yeah, Andre, did Joe Biden deport illegal immigrants in mass? No.
No.
Did Barack Obama deport illegal immigrants in mass? Yes. All right. Fundamental difference in philosophy and approach. I think it was Albie, the previous speaker before you said, that the we could all agree. This is very basic stuff. You've committed crimes. You've been warned multiple times. Get them out the country. Like Andre, it's not all just politics. There's certain basic things that the new Democrats, the Ocasio, whatever the rest of them, that they don't love America. They hate America. They want to see America fail. They want to turn America into a socialist country. The Democrats act like they, support people's rights, but they're the party that wants to stifle speech. The Democrats they've become the party of the elites. They think that they know better. They have this paternal sense about them. They know better than everyone.
Hey,
Everyone is
Anthony. Hey,
stupid.
hey, hey, Anthony, don't even mute up. Let me ask you this. You don't have to mute up, bro. So Nancy Pelosi's husband, speaking of the elites, the last 3 months before the election, traded over $300 million in stock. $300 million in stock. What do you think about that?
Yo, unbelievable. But this is the party that's gonna act like they're the ones taking the high road. This is the party that's gonna act like they care about every man. This is the party that they've bought into their own hype. Yo, Trump just tells the truth and they can't deal with it. Hillary Clinton talking about deplorables. Come on now. Look at Biden. Yo, he pardoned everybody with the last name Biden. There's some Chinese Bidens that got pardoned. Like Biden, he said he would not pardon his son. He pardoned his son. Cool. I would have pardoned my son. I wouldn't have said I wouldn't do it though.
Well,
That's
well,
the difference.
Anthony, well, Anthony, Biden also said he wasn't going to run for re-election. He was going to be a
That
one-term bridge
too.
president.
Don't like a little bit more than 4 years ago, he was talking about, oh, we're worried about Trump pardoning his family members. And look at what Biden does. The worst hypocrites, man. It's shameful.
Marvin, there's a question for you in the chat. Dark Victoria, I'd like to know what Marvin thinks about them firing the bipartisan Republican chair of Intelligence Committee. Something not done. Congress is supposed to be an independent body. What do you think, Marvin?
I'm not even aware of that. What is the situation?
Dark Victoria wrote in the chat, I'd like to know what Marvin thinks about them firing the bipartisan Republican chair of Intelligence Committee.
I'm gonna look this up before I answer. Hold on.
Okay. Well, Anthony, to piggyback off what you were saying, man, I think Donald Trump, this political campaign was, in my lifetime, at least, the most ingenious campaign. He had his ear to the ground. You know, when the Democrats call certain people, American citizens, trash, what does Donald Trump do? He shows up in a garbage truck. The guy had his ear to the ground. He's listening to the American people. It's about time we had a politician. Albie, it's really the truth, though, man. I'm being totally honest with you. He's paying attention to what people want. People want immigration enforcement. People want, you know, not paying $6 for eggs. He's paying attention to what people are saying.
100%. 100%. Uh, I think that's pretty much a fundamental need of anyone who decides they need to be in a leadership position is to listen first and talk second. But that's just my opinion. I wanted to bring up another maybe just characteristic of him being from the tri-state as you are, JB, and I am as well. Does that have anything to do with the reaction pro con by the world to his actions, his behaviors? Typical tri-staters, from what I know, we're pretty much action oriented. We pretty often follow through on our. If you're talking about a credible person, on our intentions, on what we say we're going to do, and he's maybe just showing it in a way that the world is not used to. Because I can't remember a player on the main on the biggest stage in the world from New York operating this way on camera every day. I just thought that might be just a tidbit or something, a stylistic type thing. that comes out. We don't hear about Putin talking every day, right? We don't see him talking. What leaders are you
Well,
seeing
well, well,
talk?
well, well, well,
Yeah.
well, well, Trump definitely has New York swag about him. There's no doubt about that. New Yorkers, we move differently. Not that it's a good or bad thing. He's different. But let me say good morning to TC real quick because TC was along I guess the same lines as me. We finally realized, TC, bro, what's going on with the Democratic Party? They're so focused on trying to stop this man instead of reorganizing their party and getting it right.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, JB. Yeah, I mean, listen, it wasn't more than like 7 months ago that I quickly realized that the American Democratic Party has completely abandoned the people that its base, and I'm not talking about the radical left liberals. I'm talking about hardworking Americans, minorities like me, people that are facing the daunting reality that the economy is not working for those individuals and their families. The education system is suffering, or they're suffering under the weight of failing school systems. And so people started waking up to that reality, and Democrats pushed back and they doubled down, and they continue to do that. It's almost as if they didn't learn their lesson in 2024. And so now they're continuing to double down and they're continuing to push back, but they don't realize the reason why so many voters like myself stop voting for Democratic candidates is because they think they're pushing back against Trump. They're thinking they're pushing back against MAGA. But in their virulent responses, what they're actually doing is pushing back against the things that the American people actually like, which is why Donald Trump is enjoying the highest approval rating he's had in both his first and second terms. He has a higher positive rating than a negative rating. Why do you see that happening? Well, for two main reasons. One, immigration enforcement, like you mentioned, JB, that's very popular with Americans. They see this country being exploited, they see this country being taken advantage of, and they see resources being siphoned away from their tax paying families, and they don't like it. But number two, just a strong, dominant executive. That's something that America's lacked for a long time. And Americans are realizing, holy shit, a strong executive in the White House is actually what America needs to have respect again. And Donald Trump is putting on the forefront. And he's not doing everything perfect. There's some things that he did that I don't agree with. The pardoning of the January 6th violent attackers, I wouldn't have done that. Those are some, concerns that I have. But you have to take the good with the bad. Listen, a dominant, powerful executive that's making headway in the world, like removing ourselves from the Paris Climate Accords, right? Like enforcing obligations on Gaza and Israel to making sure that the hostages are released and that there's a ceasefire. Those are the type of wins that America wanted when they voted for Donald Trump, and that's what they're getting.
TC, I agree with everything you just said. I think the inaction of Joe Biden has put a lot of people in shock right now by the actions of Donald Trump. He's done more in 5 days than Joe Biden did in 4 years.
That's a
But
fact.
I'm going to say this, and it might be a polarizing statement, but I really thought his inauguration address was great. But the one of the things that really stuck out to me was, and this is a new Donald Trump. He specifically said, "I want to thank the Black and Latino voters."
That's a fact. That's
And let
correct.
me tell you something. That Donald Trump 4 years ago may not have said that, but I think he's come to the realization of how important that voting block is.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm a Black American, and I know my community's convictions, our value system, and I know what we regard and what we respect. And we respect a strong leader. We respect somebody that's not going to back down. We respect a fighter. We respect an underdog. We've been underdogs for our entire existence in this country. And so when we look at a person like Donald Trump, who says he's going to improve the condition of our schools and the education system in this country, he's going to improve our communities, making sure that illegal immigration isn't completely tarnishing the reputation of businesses in those communities. When he talks about national security, those are things that we can get behind. So I agree, but again, I have a cautious, skeptical optimism about the Trump administration because we know who Donald Trump is. And so some of the activities he's taking with regard to like the equal rights executive actions, reversing that from the 1965 equal rights executive action. I have some concerns and reservations. So I'm not going in all, bushy tailed and blue eyed, right? I want to go in very conservatively, very cautiously, and still hold his feet to the fire and hold him accountable for the stuff he's doing.
Thank you, TC. Appreciate you, bro. Go
The
ahead, Marvin.
I want to come back to the question. Look, I think that people are having a hard time accepting. This kind of tags on to what the previous speaker said. Um, the United States voted in a president named Donald J. Trump, and with that, that individual has the right to exercise uh, all of their decisions and selections, and the things that he does that may not fit will go through constitutional process. For the Speaker of the House, who is in charge of the House from an administrative and an organizational standpoint, that individual has the right to appoint and remove individuals from their committees. It's that simple, you know. And so um, there had been previous uh, unaligned views that the Intelligence Committee had, and as a result, he's been removed. I would remove him too if you don't, you know, if you work under my domain and you don't believe the things that I do, then you're this is not the company for you, right? And that's what happened.
Thank you, Marvin. Sig, I have a question for you. Are you there, Sig?
Yes, sir. What's going on, man?
Well, the reason I'm asking you this question specifically, because I got Marvin's feedback. You're both former Marines. Both of you, thank you for your service, and anybody else that served in the military. What do you think about the new Secretary of Defense? Pro or against?
Oh, pro, 100% pro.
That's funny you say that because Marvin didn't. I didn't think Marvin had the same view. Why do you feel that way?
I like the man's ideology, man. I agree with a lot of his experience and the way he sees running the military. From my experience, I went in under Bush, got out under Obama. I saw that change and how negative it was, with all the DEI and kind of corporatizing the military and making it r- run more like a business. And Marvin's a devil dog. He knows how we get down in the Marine Corps, as far as leadership. And the reason why the Marine Corps is set apart from all the other branches is because the heavy emphasis on leadership that the Corps has compared to other branches. I literally just saw it go by the wayside overnight due to two different administrations. So um, I
Wait,
like
wait, wait, wait. What's a devil dog?
that's the name we call each other. It's from World War II. It's yeah, from Battle of
Tuf-
Belleau.
Trufelhouden,
Tuvalu. Yes, yes. It's we fought the Germans and or the Nazis in Germany in World
Bellawood.
War II, Bella Wood, yeah, and they had never seen a fighting force so fierce, so they called us Hounds from Hell, which is Tufelhunden, which we call each other Devil Dogs. So just a nickname for each other. So but yeah, yeah, I agree. I like his leadership style. I like what he has to say. I like his ideology on, mission accomplishment first. The military's number one mission is to win wars, and defend the country, and I think that's what the focus needs to be set on, not
Well,
not
let me
anything
ask
else.
you. Let me ask you a follow-up question. Then we're going to get King Nave in the conversation. Marvin asked me a question. I'm going to ask you the same question. Do you think Donald Trump sends troops into the Middle East?
Do I think he does? Yeah, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, he has to. Yeah, yeah, he has to, of course.
Thank you. King Nave, how you doing, bro? Naveen.
What's up, bro? How are you?
I'm
What's
doing
going
great,
on, Naveen?
man.
Good morning, man.
I
Good
said a
morning,
statement
guys.
earlier that I'm going to say to you, and I'm sure you're going to agree with it. Donald Trump's done more in 5 days than Joe Biden did in 4 years. What do you think?
100%. He's done that. He's proven that you can use the executive power the way Joe said you couldn't, and you needed Congress, and tried to play the game, blaming, oh, look at Republicans because of them and this bill, and Trump kept saying you can do it as an executive. There's things you can do, but he chose not to. He's doing it, and it's really refreshing. Regarding troops going to the Middle East, I just want to say, I actually disagree. I don't think he's going to actually put boots on the ground in the Middle East. I think he's using economic pressure, and though Joe Biden gave sanctions and did all that, he didn't actually use economic pressure, and he has allies that are willing to give economic pressure as well to get the things he wants. Like for example, with Iran, right? Even Obama sanctioned Iran But sanctions don't work when Iran is still able to, purchase materials from other countries and able to, to get what they need. Sanctions on Russia doesn't work when, Russia is already distributing oil to, to half the world and is able to make so much money on it. So when you cut off people economically, I think his whole thing is economic warfare first, and then boots on the ground is kind of the final. If it has to be boots on the ground, it has to be boots on the ground. So I respect that.
So this is where I'm a little bit wary of his policies and his approach, is because it's you need to be sort of balanced as you move forward, and while building strong coalitions economically, you also kind of put pressure on unfair trading practices and stuff, which I agree United States has been taken advantage of worldwide, actually. But if he is sort of taking the hammer to all the treaties while expecting the backing of same countries when he's putting pressure on Iran or Russia or China, I mean, it would be very difficult to him to get anybody behind him. So I think he needs to be a little bit more.
Well,
He has to have a more nuanced approach to it.
yeah, and Andre, there is nuance approach. So I'll give you an example. In 20, you can look it up. In 2019, or actually 2017, Donald Trump gave a speech to the United Nations, and in the speech, he talked about asking Europe to divest from Russia. And his exact quotes were, "If you if you don't divest, they will just dominate you, and economically, you're helping your enemy." And everyone laughed at him. Germans and others laughed at him because they wanted the pipeline. What did he do? He slowly built US energy, and he was able to get us to, like, those nations to start buying oil from us. Now think about it. We were shipping oil to them using Navy ships and other maritime ships and sending them oil, and they were purchasing oil from us. So we were exporting more oil than we could have. What did that do? That crippled their ability to buy from them, because they go, hey, why would I buy from Russia when I can buy from the US? So in some ways, it's not always as nefarious as what you're saying. Is he's basically said, hey, I removed your dependency on Russia now. Now you have to support us in X, or I removed your dependency on Iran or the Middle East for oil. Now you don't need them anymore. So come here. So sometimes that helps also. And so there are different strategies, but you're absolutely right. It has to be done in a professional mannerism. So I agree.
Yeah, and you make a fair point. But well, so for example, well, the problem with Germany is that so many of their chancellors, like past maybe three, I want to say, are in the pocket of Gazprom. That it's quite difficult to navigate this. Like you need to have allies within the system itself in order to promote your policies. So what I'm basically saying is that taking hammer to Canada and Mexico might not be the best idea. Although I think what he was doing, and then once again, this is completely my fantasy, that what he was doing, he was trying to get rid of Trudeau, so he can have somebody that across the aisle who he can work with and who be very receptive and sympathetic to his ideas. So maybe that's the type of
Uh,
strategy that he's going to implement.
just to be fair, I want to let others go, but I think Mr. Wonderful said it perfectly. Trump is not trying to, annex Canada and do all this stuff. He's trying to essentially renegotiate NAFTA and trying to make North America to be the strongest trading bloc that's there. See, in other words, North America are the ones who get raped on all. I mean, America more than Canada and Mexico, but it's us that's looked at, hey, we got to go do this. We look at Canada's getting raped too, and then Canada rapes us back. And so if you look at it, it's it's something where he's trying to say, look, let us have a better unity together over here. And it starts with you treating us fairly. And so, just imagine if you had, I'm not saying you need a European Union, but imagine you had a North American Union. I'm not saying I want that. I'm just saying, imagine you had that, right? And in order to make deals here, right, Trump was able to negotiate a good deal or help negotiate a good deal for Canada and for Mexico as well, right? We would be a force to be reckoned with all across the world versus Canada raping us, Mexico raping us, and the rest of the world doing it. Then we're trying to fend them all off, and then we decide to join into these international things that
Well,
help
Naveen,
China.
Naveen, let me say this. I don't think Trump really gives a shit about Canada becoming the 51st state. And I said this earlier. I believe he does want Greenland, though. I think he wants to take a hold of Greenland.
That's 100%. Dude, you're 100% right. I've been in military briefings, which I won't say where or all this, where for about 25 years they've been talking. I haven't been in for 25 years, but where they mentioned for 25 years, they've mentioned the strategic importance of Greenland. The problem is right now is with Greenland is that while we have military bases there, there's a limit to what we can do. We have to ask, essentially, you have to go to, you essentially have to ask the Dutch, like you have to ask them, hey, I need help with this. Like you can't operate on your own over there. So if Russian ships are coming through, you have to get their permission to go over the airspace still. And so it becomes almost forecasting what you're doing. And so he really wants that. But by the way, Truman also talked about a deal for to get Greenland, just so everyone knows.
Going popcorn style, guys. If you want to speak, just grab the mic.
I just thought it was so radical to think he could annex or work with Greenland. It blew me away. Like a few things he did, which happens, right? Oh, now I'm going to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the name of the United States. Like these are bold, blatant kind of things that he puts out there. And you need to know a little bit more about the New York's personality, I think, to understand these moves. And you need to read a little bit more about his personality, the art of the deal. He's always talking about the deal. And from a larger perspective, which is what he is, he's a macro policy advisor, not a micro policy advisor. So he's thinking, how do I do better business? How does the United States get back to the place where it's at least equal with the world in terms of how much we consume and how much we trade? I think he's just recognizing that. And if you watch anything about him, he's spoken about the imbalance of trade policy for about 30 years. China back in the 80s and 90s. So he's doing that from a macroeconomic perspective. Now the microeconomic perspective, where the implementation happens, is something he wants to be involved with, but it's just such a big process, I think, in my opinion, that he leaves it to others who perhaps he selects might have the right direction, which I think that is the bigger direction. I think he says it almost every day. I'm not sure how people are missing that part of it. And to somewhat look past his personal traits, his style, and just watch the policy, if that's possible to do. And I know it's not an easy thing to do.
Well, let me jump in here because we have Dog Victoria, this dingaling. He's the atypical libtard, still crying over the loss, still looking for things he's doing wrong instead of empowering him for the things he's doing right. It's so bizarre to me, Sig, how some of these people are so emotional about Donald Trump. To me, dude, I think he's doing a great job 5 days in. We finally have some confidence in our fucking government. When's the last time that happened? It didn't happen with Biden. It didn't happen in Trump's first administration because people like Victoria were so busy bashing the man, they didn't want to stop and try to support the man. I don't think it happened under Obama. When was the last time Americans felt like we actually have an executive doing his job?
The first Trump admin.
Did you hear Rashida Tlaib's fucking rant on immigration, bro? It was horrendous.
I
She's
didn't hear it.
crying about
What did she say?
yeah. Oh, dude, she's given the emotional victim. This is scary. My mother, is gonna be placed in handcuffs. She's gonna have to, go grocery shopping with a passport on her so she doesn't get snatched up and deported by ICE. And, dude, yeah, look it up if you get a chance. It was horrendous, man. It was so
AOC is
cringe.
also.
Is she
Bro,
implying,
they,
Sig, that
they
she's illegal? Her mother is illegal. That's what she's implying.
No, she's just trying to stir up. A lot of people are
No,
doing this.
no. Listen, Nev, I know what she's doing, but it's like it sounds like what she's saying basically that my mother is illegal, so therefore, like she needs some sort of protection from being snatched. It's not like they just, they're looking at this person. Oh, that looks like an immigrant. Let's snatch them.
But
It's
that's
just
what they
completely
want.
different.
But that's what they want. See, you got to understand. If they get people, and I think you understand, but they're getting it based on they're trying to get people scared. I mean, AOC is putting out ads in my area, which is heavy MS-13, which is like 10 miles from me, putting out ads saying, if you're Latino American, contact me. Don't worry, I will be there to protect you. The president does not have the authority to just rip you from your families and take you away. And I've spoken to Latino Americans, and they're like, "Oh, should I be worried?" And I'm like, "Are you illegal?" They go, "No, I'm legal. So why are you worried?" Like he's not said he's going to take and send you back to your country, but she's giving it the impression. In fact, she did an interview in local media with some family who had one member of the family who was illegal, like an uncle or something, right? and and it was so manipulated, the story, and she told the story, she didn't let them tell it, but she said what happened. ICE broke into the building. They came in, they took your uncle away, the rest of you, they held you back and kept you here, right? One of you had to go along with them in the car, so they locked both of you up and both of you went there. Is that correct? Said yeah. And so, like, yeah, okay, the wife of the uncle went there, but the wife is actually legally here, but he's not. He's illegally here. So they locked it. And it's mind boggling. So she said, so they locked you up and say, yeah, what about the rest of you? We're terrified. We don't even want to go to the station. We don't know where to talk to him, where he's being held. They won't tell us any details. Is he at the police station? Is he in a federal prison? Is he in a place? We don't know anything. We're terrified for our lives. We're sleeping like this. And so you're like, okay. And then later you
Well,
find
Naveen,
out these are citizens.
let me jump in here real quick. TC, are you there, TC?
Yep.
TC, I have a question for you, respectfully. You and I are both lifelong Democrats, right? We readily admit it, but we also support the new president. How does the Democratic Party, if they can, recover? Because listen to these stories from what's going on in the Democratic Party and the lack of leadership there. How do we as a party recover?
Well, JB, I'm not a Democrat. I voted Democrat for pretty much as long as I can remember. I don't think I've ever voted for a Republican, at least on the presidential level. But I think the Democratic Party has to do what they had originally intimated they would do back when they lost in 2016. They need to go through a full post-mortem review of their policies as it relates to social issues, their position on transgenders. They have to revisit that. They have to revisit their position on immigration. They have to revisit their position on international trade. And they have to be the party of the working party again. One of the biggest constituencies that they lost, or the most obvious, was the union vote. Um, a lot of people that are part of the union turned their back on the Democratic Party because they just didn't see a solution for their problems being articulated in an effective enough way from Kamala Harris. And so, to answer your question, JB, I think what they need to do is they need to revise a strategy and demonstrate for Americans how, under their leadership, the next 20, 30 years is going to prove better outcomes for working class people. If they can't do that, then they'll continue to lose. Just that
Well,
simple.
TC, I agree with you with the union vote. They lost me for good, I think, now. When I read just the other day that Nancy Pelosi's husband moved $300 million worth of stock in the months leading up to the election.
Yeah.
If
And you
you
know,
and I, if you and I did that, we wouldn't be in jail, bro. We'd be under the jail.
yeah. And you know what's crazy? Where they really lost me was when Joe Biden pardoned his family. When not even just 5 years ago, they were saying Donald Trump was going to do the same thing, and that would be the upending of democracy. But when Joe Biden did it, preemptively, by the way, preemptively pardoning his own family, the first time in American history that any president has preemptively pardoned members of their family, there was not even so much as a whistle from the left wing media. I think what's really putting the Democrats in is the left wing media apparatus that's driving the narrative and is turning Americans off. And when Democrats come onto the left wing media, they're basically their arms are twisted and put behind their back to conform to this new media wise agenda. And if they don't, they get ostracized in the media. So I think it has a lot to do with the fact that the Democrats has to get less cozy with the media and start calling out. Here's another thing, and I'll just let it here. What the Democrats did was they identified what Americans should not want, what Americans should not do. And they say, we're going to run on this idea that Americans should not be January Sixers. Americans should not have these feelings about immigration because that would make you xenophobic. You should not have these feelings about transgenders serving in the military in the schools because that would make you bigoted. You should not feel this way about the economy because look on paper, the economy is great. So the Democrats ran their entire campaign telling Americans how wrong they are and how if you just trust us, we can prove that we're right. What did Donald Trump do? Donald Trump did the exact opposite. He identified the feelings, the angst of the American people and said, okay, your schools are shit, right? The economy is going bad. These people are lying to you. So what he's doing is he's reinforcing those legitimate feelings to give American people an idea for what it would look like if things were different. And he ran on being the change candidate. And that's where Kamala Harris went wrong because she lectured Americans when Donald Trump pulled the heartstrings of Americans and what they were feeling. And he used that to catapult them into the election. So Democrats need to revise their strategy and realize that, hey, the way Americans feel, they're the ones that's voting people into office. You should not guilt them. The worst strategy they deployed was guilt politics. You should not guilt Americans into voting for Democrats. You should actually devise solutions that's going to change the trajectory of their lives for the next 20 to 30 years.
Thank you, TC. Good morning, Wesley.
Good morning, my
How you
fellow
doing?
patriots. Good. Clubhouse is still here,
Well,
JB. It's
Semper
amazing.
Fi, bro.
Raw. It's been a flood the zone blitz by the Republicans. I heard the media elites is what the article called them. They're exhausted, and it's been 5 days, so it's pretty cool. I'm interested in the Federal Reserve, the gold standard. I'm pretty sure that my opinion is that's one of the major reasons they killed JFK is he wanted to do the gold standard, and Trump was hinting at the golden age of America, and so I think that's what's next, something along those lines. But those executive orders, so much to cover. So yeah, thanks for letting me on the stage, JB. I hope everybody's doing well, and I'll mute up and listen. Over.
Thank you, Wesley. So I just pinned an article to the top, and I read this article and I was like, "Yep, makes sense to me." The GOP basks in seismic vibe shift 1 week into Trump 2.0. It's culturally uncool to be a Democrat. Sounds right to me. 'Cause you got people like Dog Victoria in the chat who all they do is complain instead of empower. TC, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I mean, what the biggest thing I forgot to mention a minute ago, JB, was the DEI. DEI is vastly unpopular with Americans, not because Americans don't believe in diversity, not because Americans don't believe in inclusion, or not because Americans don't believe in equality. Notice I said equality, not equity, right? What the Democrats did, the top sin that the Democrats did was they made Americans feel like they were racist because they didn't adopt DEI. Again, all of these policies that are wholly unpopular with Americans, Democrats, somebody convinced the Democrats that if they ran on this politics of guilt and shame and forcing Americans to be remorseful, that somehow they acquiesced to the Democrats' policy proposals that would force more DEI, more transgender politics, more force or immigration and open borders down Americans' throats. And again, each of these policies are very unpopular with Americans. It was like a recipe for disaster. I mean,
Well,
and when they put in Kamala Harris, the worst thing they could have done was try to put somebody up to champion the Biden administration's failures. And that's where they really kind of like everything just that's how Donald Trump had a historic win. All the swing states, every single one of them. Are you kidding me?
TC, I want to piggyback off something you just said, man. That was a great share. Growing up here in America, at least my experience, I've always was told, if you work hard, you get places. But with DEI, it doesn't matter how hard you work, because you may not get to the place you deserve because you worked hard. DEI was a disaster for America, and I'm glad we're swinging back the other way. Good morning, Ann. Good morning, Francisco. Ann, how you doing today?
Morning. Good. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Glad you're here. What's going on?
Good morning, Ann. What's going on?
Oh, good morning, Sig. Not much. I'm just Any news? Any new news?
Well, Trump has the highest approval rating he's ever had. That's news.
He
Within
also
the first
fired
6 days of his administration.
overnight. He fired 17 inspector generals with an executive order. I mean, this guy's just signed an executive order after executive order. Albie,
No, just a couple that I've been trying to find a way to follow his real-time decisions. Does anyone have something to suggest that other than maybe a Twitter account or what have you? What you guys use to kind of keep abreast of what he's doing?
the only thing I would suggest, and maybe somebody has a better suggestion, is Truth Social, because he seems to announce things there before anywhere else.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yo, JB, did you catch Adam Carolla in front of Congress? That clip about him talking about him applying to be a firefighter in LA in California.
No, I didn't. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I'll drop the link in the chat. It's pretty dope
You could
little
pi- you
clip,
could
man.
you could pin it to the top.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. But he pretty much he went in front of Congress talking about the DEI bullshit. He said that when he was 19 years old, he applied for the to be a fighter, and they told him that he's got to wait 7 years. So 7 years rolls by, they call him and say, "Hey, you still want to come in?" So he comes in, and there's another lady who's there who got called as well, and he's conversing with her. "Yeah, it took me 7 years." He's like, "When did you apply?" She's like, "I applied 2 weeks ago."
That's crazy. Doesn't surprise me though. Good morning, Francisco. How you doing? Francisco, are you there?
Oh yeah, yeah. Good morning. Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. Did you want to chime in, sir?
um, yeah, always, but I like to let other people talk too.
Well, it's your turn, sir.
So what are we? We're talking about Trump and his executive orders and whatnot.
We could talk about whatever you want to talk about, but that's the conversation right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love to drink the liberal tears and to watch all the racist black women who hate white men. Clutch their pearls and all the liberals and freaking out. That's great, but I want to see an even more vengeful Donald Trump. I want to see him like not just fire people, but I want to see people arrested, prosecuted for being traitor for sedition, being prosecuted for frivolous lawsuits. They tried to bankrupt Trump, being prosecuted for allowing some obviously, FBI induced mental patient to with a weapon to shoot at Trump and kill people at a Trump rally. Like there needs to be more vengeance for that. Like does he really
Was the
believe that
what was this FBI induced? Tell me more
uh,
about that.
I forget what the guy's name was, but did we all forget the assassination attempt there in Pennsylvania or wherever it was?
Sorry, I'm sorry. Maybe I didn't ask my question clearly.
Oh,
You had said somebody had the FBI had induced an individual.
allegedly, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
good luck.
Wait,
Good luck
hold
find.
on, hold on.
Yeah.
So wait, Marvin. Let me just ask this question real quick because
hmm
I'm a little lost in the sauce here. Francisco, are you saying that the FBI was behind the assassination attempt of Donald
I don't
Trump?
know if you want to call it the FBI, but certainly there were folks in the Secret Service and in the government. The FBI is like the chief cover-up job for the aristocracy that obviously wanted Trump to be shot. They allowed that kid to climb up on the roof with a clear line of sight, like what was it, 120 yards away or something like. Um, and to take shots, and people were killed, and Trump was actually hit. So does Trump really believe that they're trying to erase him? Because if he does, like, he should be pissed, like on a personal level. And we need justice, right? The government's main job is to distribute justice. It's to punish evildoers with the sword and reward those who do good. So we need COVID justice as well. Hello. We need COVID justice. Yeah, I'm not. We should not be satisfied with the firing of a bunch of DEI hires. Like that's a good baby step, but let's go even further and really up that approval rating because the American people hate big pharma, Albert Bourla, Pfizer, Moderna. Like we hate them with a passion, as well we should.
I mean, I'll let Marvin handle if he wants the whole conspiracy theory on Trump assassination. But I don't think it's a tiny step by a long shot with the DEI. I don't know if people realize how big that industry is. It's like a multi-billion-dollar industry, and the amount of people that work in it is just astonishing. So one of the things, like I see it as a net positive, obviously, because I think it's basically legalized discrimination in both corporate and government. But what we will have to deal with as a sort of fallout from that cancellation is a lot of people going to be out of job, looking for something to do. And if if the administration is smart and strategic about their decisions, I think they will find some way of funneling those people into something more productive. If they're not, they're just going to let them be, and that might actually have a fallout.
Going popcorn style, guys. Good morning, Abby. Hold on, let me say hello to Abby. Abby's one of my favorite people on this app. Oh, there she is. Hello, Abby. Everybody, not Albie, Abby. Hold on, bro. You got so much background noise. Abby, I just want to wish you once again a happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
You sound like you're recovering from it.
No, I'm recovering, getting ready for the football game tomorrow.
Did you
Oh
go to?
no
Did you
way!
go?
Happy birthday! Sorry. Happy
Thank
birthday,
you.
Abby.
It's
Thanks.
okay. Did you go by the ping pong place?
No, you know what? I'm doing that today. I went yesterday, really close to it, but I think I'm going to go there later today and check it out. I'm excited. His last name, remind me again, was it Williams?
Wally Green,
Wally
really,
Green. Got it.
really good guy, Abby. I'm
Oh my
telling you.
God, absolutely. He was great.
Yeah, he's
What?
a good dude. So,
I'm excited to see it. I'm
so
go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, Abby, I made a statement earlier, and that's what made me open this room. Was Donald Trump's done more in 5 days than Biden did in 4 years? What do you think about that?
I got Ann on the stage with me. I got my backup. Yes, I absolutely believe it. Oh, and Matt's up there. I mean, name the topic and we could talk about it. And I'm excited. I know people have feelings about the new Secretary of Defense, but there's some weapons that have been held up and even held up after Trump took office because they were waiting for the confirmation to go through the Senate. And now those weapons are going to be released. So I'm very excited about that. What did you think about his meeting with Karen Bass?
I didn't see it. I saw a little blurb about it. I heard he wasn't very polite to her.
It kind of put her in her place. Matt probably can tell you a lot more
But
about it.
Abby, let me ask you this question before we go to Matt. And I'm going to make a statement actually, and then you could piggyback off it if you like. How that woman hasn't been recalled is beyond me. The epitome of incompetence.
I think there is a petition to recall her. And again, Matt may be able to tell you, but I thought there was a petition that they had like 100,000 signatures, some really high number already. I don't know. Trump is also in my city today, my other city. So I want to find out. I don't know if it's early there still. So I don't know if he gave a speech or if anyone's been tracking him today in Vegas, but he slept at his property there last night.
I think he flew in really late last night, Abby. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Yeah,
The
from
guy,
LA,
the
right?
guy,
Yeah.
yeah, the guy has so much energy. And as related to Karen Bass, he just told. So there was a bunch of people there that had lost their homes in the fire too, as well. And instead of turning to Karen Bass to get answers, he turned to the people that matter and asked them, "What are they telling you?" And he turned everything that they told him on Karen Bass, because Karen Bass is telling him a different story. So it was an interesting interaction. Everybody has to watch that. It really shows you how Trump is willing to tell it how it is, whether you like it or not. It's just the way it is, the way it's going to go for him.
I mean, I think the stuff I saw had to do with him. Basically, she said, well, it's got to get cleaned up from like environmental or any toxic waste. And he immediately, he's very quick on this. He immediately clued into that could be a big fat delay. That term, cleanup of waste, could mean months and months, even though, he kept saying this has to be expedited, this has to be done right away. You have an obligation to let them build like right away. When she threw out that term, he picked up that was a stall. And I thought that was really good. And it's almost like if you're in a courtroom and someone comes out with a statement, a term, and you force them to define it and define the parameters of it, which she wouldn't do. So I actually thought that was really good. Democrat or Republican doing that to her, she needed to be accountable for those terms that in fact would hold up the process. She kept saying restrictions won't be there. They'll be able to build. They'll be able to build. And then she layered on a restriction.
Good morning, Abby. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Hey, Adams.
I just want to say, God bless you, Matt, and Jay, the only three people on this stage that actually reached out when that fire was burning less than 1,000 feet away from my front door. I think that this is a fakest outrage. People don't give a fuck about California. They really don't. I've listened to people, talk about wishing us death, having our homes burned down, laughing at the fact that kids are now being homeschooled and cannot go back to their campuses. By the way, Palisades High School is a product of the busing program. So that wasn't actually white kids' high school that burned down. That school is actually only 20% white. It's actually minority students that are bussed in from Hawthorne and from Inglewood. But it's crazy to me how people want to have this fake outrage because they want to get on these dick riding political talking points when they have not even sacrificed half of what I've seen people who live in this state have actually had to deal with over the last couple of weeks. So congratulations to those who are just participating in this conversation for likes, clicks, and follows, as opposed to those who are actually giving back and actually taking recognition to what people actually lost, regardless of what they think that they voted for or what they think how they're famous, and living as a Hollywood elite and all this other bullshit. This conversation is just very disingenuous. And Lindsay, centering is crazy. You can go fuck yourself because last time I checked, you didn't live in California either.
Well, anyway, Adam, I'm glad that he went there, and I'm glad he took her on and made her somewhat accountable, although I'm not sure how much it's really going to do to let people go back up to their properties and start the process. I think he came to Nevada to thank people for voting for him for the state turning red, and also because the tax on tips was born there from the waitress that served him, and he wanted to go back and double down on him trying to push that through as law. So I think that's probably, I mean, that's what I heard why he's there today.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what was he doing there. Only you would know,
Well, that's
possibly.
that's
So
what
it's probably related to that. Yeah.
yeah, the Vegas media said that, but I don't know. I haven't
It's
been.
on his itinerary. You can see it.
Oh, is it
He's just
Brad?
there.
What's it
Yeah,
say?
you can just see his outline, his schedule. So yeah, I mean, it's not that hard. Just go to the his page.
Yeah, because the Vegas media had him over by Palace Station, which is like not one of our higher end properties, but it's Fertitta owned, and they're huge supporters of his. Um, and one of their relatives just became the ambassador to Italy. Um, so I have a feeling that's got to be what it's about there, which is great. I mean, if that becomes law, and I think it did have a lot to do with turning the state red for him. That was a big initiative. I think like 1 in 5 people in our state is a tipped employee.
What did you make of his Davos speech? I didn't even know he was going over there. I mean, he's everywhere. I'm like, what is he doing over in Davos? I didn't see that coming. I don't know if you saw much of it.
No, I
I always
didn't.
saw,
Yeah.
I always saw a little bit myself. I just didn't know if you had watched a bit of it. But Brad, did you watch any of it or no?
Which one? The fire station or the
No, the Davos when he was over in
No.
Davos.
No, I
Okay.
didn't see that.
Well, he did a video. It was like a video chat, Matt. He was gonna go check on North Carolina and the people here in America, but he did do a video chat with Davos. So
Are you sure he wasn't there? I thought he was there. Okay, that makes more sense. I was
yeah.
like, what is he already there? That's incredible. Yeah.
Well, I know he likes, I mean, this for sure, he likes to stay and sleep at his own properties. So, I mean, it's, on a private plane even faster. It's like a 40-minute plane ride from LA to Vegas. So it kind of makes sense that he's staying there. Um, but I don't know what he's after he does whatever he's doing today, he's got to be, is he heading back to Washington? Do we know? Brad, do you have the schedule?
No, I don't have it pulled up in front of me.
Well, it's interesting also the tax on tips, like how that will go through the legislature and if that, because it's not taxing Social Security. Um, and someone can remind me, was there another program that he suggested we don't tax? Those are the only two that come in my mind.
It was tips, bonuses, Social
Bonuses.
Security, and oh shoot, what was it?
Like all bonuses?
Yeah, he
All
wanted
employer
to
bonuses? Wow.
yeah. The hit back on him was that, oh, Trump just wants to protect bonuses for the rich billionaire classes if the rest of the Americans don't get bonuses.
I wonder how everything will be presented. Again, whether it'll be lumped together. There's also things for the automotive industry. He had said when he was in Michigan that he wanted a tax deduction for car payments, interest on car payments on any car that's manufactured in America. That was also, it might have had something to do with getting Michigan.
God, that means everybody will have to drive a Tesla.
Oh, God, no.
It's the only car totally made in America.
Really? Wait, explain that one.
The big three, the other four automakers make, they're assembled and made overseas, and they're assembled here. So you can open up your door panel on your driver's side and look at the percentages breakdown of what your car is made overseas and what part of your car is made here. So they're not your Fords, your GMs, your Chryslers. Even your grand old Jeep is not fully made in America anymore.
So I wonder how they'll quantify that. I mean, he definitely made those statements in Michigan.
I'm glad he did. I hope they reverse. I hope they come back and put he starts making cars. Like Ford makes an actual car that can get out of the driveway and go down the road, but also made in America. Same thing with a Chevy. That way you don't have to keep it up on cinder blocks. Besides, Abby, you'd never drive one of those anyway.
You're right. Two foreign cars, one English and one German. Two German, one English.
What do you think of that foreign aid, stopping foreign aid for 90 days? So just to get a handle on it, or Zelensky's got to be worried about that more than anyone I can think. But are there any yeah, anything I don't see on it? Sounds like a great plan. Like, yeah, let's just stop sending money to everyone real quick. But
But
maybe there's something, maybe
Wesley,
there's something deeper.
there's different forms of foreign aid. You know, there's direct aid, like to these developing nations in Africa. There's aid, when it's to stop the spread of diseases and medical help or food. And then there's the aid that an aid is a funny word for it because it's basically money that then has to be spent back in the United States for purchase of either military or other U.S. made goods. So I think you kind of have to break it down, the different ways that we send. I mean, it's interesting if you spend the time and just even Googling the history of foreign aid and the different forms of foreign aid, the different recipients around the world, and what our intentions were, what was the legislative intent of it initially. And again, some of it is used as leverage with some of these countries to position the countries politically where we want them. And, again, some of it, there's an Ebola breakout somewhere. It would be very helpful that we put some money in to try to stop it before it spreads to our nation. So I guess, Wesley, I would look at the different forms of it.
Yeah, one of the articles I was kind of glancing over regarding this, I mean, it's still left wing media, and they're like, "This is reckless. You're throwing a hand grenade in. Like, this is draconian." They were super against it. Um, these the nonprofits, the Federal Reserve, the foreign aid, like someone's funding and laundering the corruption and the stealing of the American taxpayer dollars, and then it going to whoever. There's something there that I assume that this bill was supposed to try to be stopped. I don't think that Trump's like, oh yeah,
I don't see us stopping.
you know what we should do?
Wesley, I don't see us stopping it. Again, if there's political reasons we have it. I mean, really spend some time and just read about historically why we have it, how long we've been doing it. Since the founding of our nation, we've had a foreign diplomacy. We went over to the Barbary Coast, and when was it? Brad's always my expert on years. We've been having a foreign presence and part of policing the world from the beginning of founding of the nation. There's lots of books on it, but so I don't see that all of a sudden stopping. But again, you know, foreign assistance comes in different forms for different nations in different ways, and you really get familiar with all the reasons. Sorry.
If I
So I just
remember
want to
correctly, it
interject
was
the idea.
Jefferson. It was
I just want to
Jefferson
talk
and
about
Barbary
Elon
pirates,
Musk.
and I think it was because they were enslaving United States sailors. They went
How
there.
about Elon
Right.
Musk being involved in this efficiency? Does anyone see that being something he gives enough time to? Does he have the right people in place to actually give us, an audit? Is that possible, or is this just a ploy?
We don't know. It's a creation of another entity in the U.S. government that'll be funded eventually. Something that conservatives I know are watching it very, very closely. Republicans are. As for the foreign aid, you can be upset at it. I am. I don't like the idea of giving all that money around the world, but we give about what 1% of our GDP overseas, if that. So, I mean, that's not the major source of issues as far as your taxes and where we're spending the money. Very few people want to do it, but you have to touch entitlements, and it's the way our government spends money. I don't believe Doge can. It may be able to bring some efficiencies. I'll say this: we'll see what happens, but we already have auditing practices and auditing entities in the government, and they're not doing their job. So I don't know. I am a little bit torn on this one. I don't really like the idea because the efficiencies. Like I already know, I can fire the DEI, the executive supervisors. I can trim the fat off of a lot of military contracts. I can go through the DOJ. I'm sure Abby could in just no time. The FBI, we can go through that. We could go through a lot of agencies. We could look at the United States Forest Service and give them back their original mandate instead of just having them build roads throughout the fucking national park system at 100 grand a year. I could cut a lot of fat out of there. I could easily do that shit. Um, you know, I could do, you can. There's a ton of it. Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, we could reform those and kick people that are healthy and able to go get a fucking job to go get a job. You don't need the support. Go get a job. You're not entitled to it. It's for those that actually need it. And I think we should.
Who better than Musk and Cash Patel to audit our books? Who better?
Then Musk. I don't
I'd
know.
actually like to see Musk. I'd like to see Musk with like a very like someone we know is an accountant on steroids. I'm thinking library looking one. I think he's not going to be. I think he's going to lead or at least have an input because the guy has a few things to do. I think it would be better if we saw two people that maybe he endorsed. Such I don't know if we go through the major accounting firms, but someone of that nature who's just screams of detail oriented and wants to be authentic. I think if we see someone like that show up, if they can attract people like that, maybe they already have.
Last
But
time we
I think
did
it
that,
can't hurt.
we sucked. It was Comey. I'm not leaning that way.
And why would you put your faith in Musk? First, he's an immigrant. Second, he does really shitty cars and he sends rockets up into space. Where the fuck is his qualifications as in terms of being able to audit the U.S. government? Uh,
Accumulation of wealth that we can't have.
so you want to just hand it off because the guy's rich? That's
Well,
Hey
the
now,
dumbest
Brad,
move
what's
What
wrong with
ever.
and what he
immigrants?
did to Twitter, Brad. I think that's a good case.
He bought Twitter. He didn't do anything. He bought Twitter.
He
Like this
bought it,
doesn't
but then he
like hold
fired a
on.
lot of. Well,
Hold on a
what I'm
moment.
getting.
You take Elon and say, "Here, I want to give you Doge, and I want you to be government oversight because you're going to do something." Just because he tweeted he's going to do it effectively doesn't mean he can effectively do it. Like the government is vast, and again, we have CBOs, we have a whole host of auditing programs for every department. They've existed for fucking I don't know 75 fucking years. How good has it worked? You want to create another government, and this is where Republicans on the stage and even others out there that are screaming for this. You want to create another bloated government agency to do the job in which we have hundreds of bloated government agencies currently in that role collecting money to do the very same thing that Elon Musk tweeted about, and you believe Elon Musk is going to do it.
Assign it to Cash.
Who the fuck is Cash Patel going to do?
I guess you don't know. I'm not gonna spoon feed people
It,
about history.
is it actually being set up as a department? Like, someone help me out on this, or is it like an advisory council?
It's supposed to be an advisory council at the beginning, and then it's going to be established as a department and receive funding to help support it and its staff, which
So
means it's another bloated fucking bureaucracy.
no, so that's different. That's interesting because kind of what you were saying, I think, is you set it up like a compliance board is set up. I think, Albie, that's what you're talking about. And I agree with you. It should be if this goes forward, it should be set up like a compliance committee is set up, reviewing an industry with people that have expertise in compliance.
And the same thing with Cash Patel. Like, Republicans, stop putting your faith. Like, let me tell you something. You had all this faith, and you're like, Trump's going to fix everything. First, the man's not God. He's not Christ. He's not fucking, I don't know, Buddha, Quasimodo, or whoever else, whatever Sky Daddy you want to believe in. Secondly, The motherfucker spent like a drunken sailor in his first term. Also, he didn't send, AG William Barr to go fight for your states' rights. For those of you living in Michigan and needed to go to your other home, he didn't send the attorney generals to come fight for your state rights, your constitutional rights to be able to transfer through. You also, a lot of you had your grandparents and parents locked in the nursing homes, interred by Democrat dipshit heads. And where was Trump on that? Did he do that anything? Nope. He didn't say shit all about the governors getting a pass on those individuals. So stop looking at these politicians as if they're Jesus Christ superhero. Yes, he's 100 times better than come staying Kamala. He's a ton better than broken down, clueless Biden, who's just a corpse, and anything else the Democrats are going to put up there. I'll give you that. But stop looking at these guys like Elon Musk is going to save us. Cash Patel is going to do it because the marketing is good on fucking Twitter. Don't be dumb. That's what the Democrats literally do. Actually, question your own leaders. I thought we were the Republicans. We hold our people accountable. Those asshats just worry about whose cock they are sucking any day of the week.
Do you know anything about, I'm just reading this, that Reagan set up something called the Grace Commission, which was a private sector commission in 82 to reform federal bureaucracy and control spending. Do, do you know anything about it? I just, the stuff I'm
Yes. Did
reading
you
in my,
read the report?
no, so I never knew about this Grace Commission. That's why I'm
You
asking
didn't?
about it. No, okay,
Oh man,
admit
it's in
to
the
my,
Ronald Reagan Library. It's like massive. It takes up like a whole freaking wall.
it's a
Um,
library I need to get to. I went to the Bush one this year, W, but not to that. Tell me about the Grace Commission. Did it work? Did they cut
no,
stuff?
no, it didn't really work. This is where term "drain the swamp" came from. Actually, was Reagan. It's used in there. Peter Gray started doing that, and he kind of did some things. He worked the General Accounting Office and the CBO at that time were working together too, if I can remember it right. And they were saying that they could have reduced 90% from a lot of departments, and that it would only add to $98 billion. So there was like so much vagueness and so much political things that it didn't really go anywhere. It didn't really generate a lot of help. It had a huge hearing, but it just wasn't like a bomb. This will be, the similar thing. I don't know how to tell you, but it wasn't something as great. Reagan put a lot of time and effort, and Grace put a lot of time and effort into it, but it didn't come out. It would be like, "Ooh, Cash Patel's going to fix everything." That's exactly what people said about Grace at that time.
I'm reading it now. Wow. And then it looks like Clinton tried to do something.
Clinton had to do something because he had Newt Gingrich in the House, and the Republicans were coming for the deficit and the budget because remember at that time it was Clinton was doing the Meta Scare program basically to scare everybody to thinking Republicans were bad, and they were taking away Medicare, and the Republicans were like they didn't do a huge job, but they tried to trim some of the fat, and that's how Clinton got his quote balanced budget and his surplus. It wasn't Clinton because the 5 times that he submitted his fucking budget proposal. It was over the top. It was so ridiculous and so expensive. We would have been further along. He didn't save. He wanted to spend. It was the Republicans and some Democrats that were like, "Oh fuck no, we're not letting this idiot spend out through." And Hillary Clinton wanted even more money. So yeah, don't necessarily believe Twitter and Elon in saying, "Hey, you know what? We're going to save the country millions of dollars." Maybe, but I don't have a lot of stock in it based on past performances.
So I'm reading, it was called the National Performance Review. And it says, if this is truthful, it was a BBC article, that it saved over $1 billion and cut 250,000 people from the federal workforce. which in the scheme of things, a billion is not a shit ton of money on
Nope,
our,
it's nothing.
yeah.
We spend that on coffee for the U.S. federal workers, just so you guys know.
So are you guys owning that Doge is going to turn into another arm of sorts? And if so, what is that arm going to be called and what's their duties going to be?
It'll depend on who wins the next election, but it most likely will end up being another entity. It'll get bloated. It'll be another commission. It'll be another CBO type thing. Um, and it'll sit there in the White House and it'll be used as a political punditry. That's all Doge really is. It's not some fucking massive thing. Now, if Elon does come out and says, "Hey, I'm going to do this," all right, maybe. But again, Congress doesn't have to take it under review. The president can fire people that work under his purview, but Congress doesn't have to trim fat from the budget. They're the ones with the strings to the purse. Elon has no power, influence, or sway over them. He can target individuals, but Congress controls the keys to the purse. Not even the president has those. So Doge is just going to sit there and maybe fire some people that are in DOJ, some other areas that the president has under him. Maybe trim the military, but military spending is going to go up. I promise you, military spending never goes down, never will go down. Medicare never goes down, it's going to go up. So I'm not sure where he's going to go, how big that fat he's going to trim. Do you, Abby?
No, I don't. I know. I just pulled up something from CBS that's saying that he signed an order to make it a department in the last couple days.
Yeah, I heard that too. That's why I asked.
This is why I say be fearful of the government. Don't trust them. I don't care if Donald Trump's in there. I don't trust the fucking fat bastard Orange Julius motherfucker. You shouldn't either. Is he more in alignment? Yep. But I still don't trust the bastard. Fuck no. Absolutely not. That's a good pageantry. He's off to a good start. I'm glad he went to California. I'm glad he did some things. I'm glad on a lot of the executive orders. I'm pretty happy on that. He's doing things. But I still don't trust the bastard. Why would if I don't trust him, why would you?
So, Brad, what advice do you give your daughters?
Don't trust politicians. That's number one.
You know,
That's great advice, Brad.
that's not realistic in today's environment. They get pushed so much one way or the other.
So let me tell you a story. There's an old political story. A politician comes up to a guy's driveway and says, "Hey, I want you to vote for me." And the guy says, "No." Next year, a politician comes up and says, "Hey, I want you to come vote for me." The guy says, "No." Third year, politician comes up to the driveway and he says, "I want you to vote for me. What can I do to earn your vote?" And he says, "All right, son, let's go out to the road." He goes, "See, there's a pothole on the north end, there's a pothole on the south end. For 3 years now, you've been asking me to be my politician, and neither side, and it ain't been fixed yet once. But you're coming here asking me what needs to be done." And he goes, "The only time you actually care to come talk to me is about when you want to get elected." I'm telling you, don't trust him. If you're Ted Cruz, don't fucking trust him. Don't trust Dan Crenshaw. I'm pretty sure Abby loves politics. She loves going to the fanfare and all that stuff. Believes in a lot of things and a direction. But I'm willing to bet you she doesn't have 100% trust in a lot of politicians. And I mean, it's really ridiculous to put your faith in some person who literally markets themselves to win a majority of the vote, a popularity contest, and somehow you think you can put your trust in them.
Let's change the word and tell
That
me how you react, all of you. Let's change the word from politician to statesman, or stateswoman, if you want to be relevant. To tell me the difference if you say, do you put your faith in a statesman? And when's the last time we had a statesman in our government or someone you could say was a statesman?
For me, it would have been Jack Kemp. That would have been a statesman.
People should put in the chat who they think our last statesman was. I used to say Daniel Moynihan was a statesman.
That's a good one.
I don't think we have one.
Hakima, there's got to be someone in our government history that you can call. All right, can I say presently? You think there's no one, or someone you thought that was a statesman? No.
Well, I didn't think historically. I'm thinking like in the last 30, 40 years. I don't think we had
Okay.
one. But like historically, I don't think so either though. I'm looking at the definition and I would say the term is usually reserved for those who have achieved significant accomplishments or demonstrated exemplary leadership over time. I just don't think nobody fits that.
You don't believe Moynihan did?
I'm not familiar with him, so I couldn't say.
I
I
mean,
couldn't
like
say.
you can go back as far as like Lincoln or Roosevelt, if you one of them. I like the teddy bear. Some people like the crippled guy, but I mean, it's your choice.
But try to stay more contemporary. I mean, we could definitely go back if you want to talk about past presidents, but like in your lifetime, let's try it that way.
Yeah, I'd have to stay with Kemp. You remember who he is?
Does
Yeah.
anybody know the governor, the senator from New Jersey, the current senator from New Jersey?
The new one, or the one that
No,
took
he's
Menendez's
been there.
place?
He's been there at least
There's
10 years.
Cory Booker is one
Yeah,
from
there you
New
go,
Jersey.
Corey. Yep,
You're going to
he
say
might be.
Cory Booker's a statesman?
Ooh,
Mm.
ooh,
I wouldn't say
ooh.
he's a statesman and define statesman.
Well, we just had someone read the definitions. I just changed the word from politician to statesman to see if I'd get a different reaction from people. Um, but we just read the definition, someone who's achieved great leadership.
I would say in the state of New Jersey, he's as close as I've seen. I would say,
Are you Jersey? Because I'll tell you something interesting in your state if you
what's
are.
that? No, no, I
So
was born in New York, yeah, but I'm aware, yeah, New Jersey,
So
yep.
Jersey, oddly, of any state in the country, the governor of the state of New Jersey has the hardest job of any governor in the entire nation. The amount of responsibility that's put on the gubernatorial office in Jersey, because the Jersey governor appoints all the judges, they're not elected like other states, appoints the attorney general. It's a very powerful position and a very heavy administrative position. And people don't realize that about Jersey. It's just like a side fact to tell you. And, there's been interesting governors there, obviously, from Christie Whitman to Chris Christie. What's it, Murphy now? Am I getting it right? Phil Murphy. Um, but I mean, it's just an interesting position. And as you look at the senators there, always look at the governor, because if you look at how governors, and often we elect governors into the White House. It's a natural path in our country. That particular state preps them more than probably any other state. Just a weird, trivial thing about Jersey.
I mean, I think you'd have to probably, in this list, I think you'd have to include as a statesman Obama. I don't like any of his policies. I think it was detriment, but his gravitas, his grace, his ability to go through and literally get what he wants on a global stage and to have a large, significant amount of people actually agree with his policies to, I mean, you're going to have to, I don't know, he's probably the most modern day statesman that I could find. And it doesn't mean a statesman is good just because they're a statesman. They're not really, they don't have to be good. So just keep that in mind.
I think I don't think Obama because like part of the definition is somebody who's widely respected for their wisdom and skill. But I think somebody that comes close, but I think he failed also is Colin Powell. I know he's not an elected official, but I think that he could fall under the bill of a statesman. I think he messed it up with the whole line of Congress about the weapons of mass destruction, which
There's that one big thing that led to a whole decimation of a nation.
yeah,
Kind of throws it off.
I think he screwed that up. So, but other than that, I really don't think nobody really fits the bill.
You could put him, Hakeem, in the same place as Condoleezza, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I,
probably. Yeah. Yeah, she would be. I mean, if she was single, I'd be chasing her like a dog after a bone. But I mean, she would she could be in that category. Rhodes Scholar, pianist, kind of one of those individuals, very classy and elegant, beautiful. But she also was savvy enough on the political front to, again, shape the world.
So what did you think of Newt? Would you put him?
used was really revealing. If you haven't watched it, I encourage you to watch it.
I don't know. A lot of these podcasters, they're good for entertainment, and that's the only way I look at it. Sometimes they have a significant point or a discussion, but I don't really. I look at these guys and I just kind of like I cringe half of the time. I'm like, oh my God, no, you're basically arguing for more expensive government. Abby, tell me I'm wrong here. You've heard all of these people and you sometimes get taken back by, wait, what did you just say? You want to broaden federal government? You want more stricter regulations on people? It boggles me.
Yeah, I don't really follow that many. I listen to Commentary Magazine. Might be the only podcast I listen to every day, but I'm not. It's not how I learn my information. I'm still old fashioned, and I watch and read the news. But Candace Owen is, I think, responsible for a lot of. I mean, she's just said blood libels, and she's got to me blood on her hands for spreading horrible hate. Is a bad person, and also not as popular as she used to be. It's what Brad said. She started out differently, but then just got caught up in something really bad. Even her father-in-law had to apologize and go out in public and make a speech distancing himself from her.
Would you compare her, Abby, to Alex Jones?
Yep. Yeah. Cut from the same cloth.
I would say
And I
they're in
wouldn't
the
have said that.
arena,
Yeah,
but
originally.
not the same.
Like, but with this conspiracy theories, yeah. I mean, just I'd put her more with Nick Fuentes. I think she's up there. And there's just an article, I got to find it, where both of them and what's coming out of their mouth is getting people hurt. It's just
Roger
some
once
just
said,
better. Wait, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, Roger said it, or maybe it was Kelly that said it best one time. They're just socialists wearing a red cape, or like what we perceive in the American context, not the old fashioned, but they are like, I've heard people saying, well, we need to be, I've heard Republicans say, oh, we need to have a forced religion in this country. Well, that is not anywhere near the realm of conservatism, and nor do I even want that. I've heard that we should tax people who don't align with that faith heavily, more heavily. That's fucking massively antithetical. Um, just the idea of some of these ideas that have been floated, I just kind of listen and I go, the hell are they talking about, and why would they do this under this? Because it has nothing to do with the pillars that conservatism or republicanism has ever been founded on.
Can I just digress for a second? What can we do about Roger's account? Jay, is there something we all can do or send
He
messages?
he he's working on it. Hopefully he'll be back in a couple days. He got clipped. So did the Rohan.
Wait,
So
what?
And they
I
both
know
got clipped?
they both
For
got clipped.
what?
Yeah.
For
Uh,
what?
Well, I can only assume. Roger I would definitely think that Roger got clipped because Ben Mendelsohn is a asshole.
Are you kidding me?
And mass
Oh
report,
my
right?
A mass
god.
reported, yeah. Because
That's so petty.
Roger wanted
That's
to
so
open a
petty.
house in competition of deep state patriots, and Ben got in his feelings and had people mass report Roger. Rohan, I don't know, but I know he'll be back. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I got to be honest with you, all the venom and the hate and the mass reporting comes from all liberals, all of them.
Jay, they're not liberals. They're leftists. Let's call them what they are. They have nothing to do with liberals.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to recant. I used to say libtards all the time. I have to pull that one back because I was educated very by Kelly. I will say that in a heated exchange one time, and we went through liberalism. And I, since Trump and since the last year, I have noticed that I have more liberals that will side with me on so many issues than I would say these Democrat totalitarianist like a Jules in the chat. Like those people, I don't count in any kind of area. But there are like Andre. I think you were a liberal or are liberal. There's a lot of liberals
Yep.
that actually sign. They're on board with a lot of what conservatives and Republicans really want.
Well, what's interesting is that American conservatives and American, classical liberals are of the same cloth. They have the same value system, they have the same goals. Like they were working together. They just have different visions of how to get to the point that they wanted to get to. But like this new influx within, both conservative movement and liberal movement of those totalitarianists, or identitarians. There's like, the Christian nationalism on the right. There's this, leftist Marxist apologist, surreptitiously apologist for Marx. I mean, they have nothing in common with the core of the values of the parties that is associated with them, but they have much more in common with each other. I mean, there's this new concept that is floating around, the woke right, which I think describes and kind of highlights those similarities very well.
Good morning, Lois.
Good morning, everyone.
Lois, what side of the aisle do you sit on, the right or the left?
The right. Who doesn't want to be right?
Do you agree with my statement earlier that Donald Trump's done more in 5 days than Joe Biden did in 4 years?
I definitely agree. And not only that, I feel like there's a lot of transparency, honesty. Um, you know, when is the last time we've seen Joe Biden sit in front of the cameras, take questions from the press about the actual executive orders that he's putting into place? And I think the American people are actually examining closely these last few years and comparing it to Trump's term. And I don't know. Sorry, I have my son here.
Oh, a sweet boy.
Yeah, it's breakfast time. But yeah, I definitely think that Trump is having a lot to undo, investigate, look into, and it's only been about a week and a half. So yeah.
Abby, oh, she's left. Shoot, I was going to ask her what she thought about like the proposed investigations into Joe Biden's pardons. I'm very curious about that, especially the preemptive ones.
I feel the pardon that Joe Biden put out is we already knew that stuff with his son was going on in the background. I don't want to go too in detail, but with his business dealing with Ukraine, his laptop, things that were censored. But the fact that he actually pardoned, his sister, brothers, Dr. Fauci, like what's going on? Like I feel like they should definitely look into that. Was that your question, Sig? Or was that Brad? Sorry.
It was for
Yeah,
Abby. But hey, Brad, interesting thing I heard Victor Davis Hanson point out is that with these preemptive pardons, or just pardons in general, once you are pardoned, you essentially lose your Fifth Amendment right in regards to what you were pardoned for, because there is no risk of self incrimination. So the justification for you to withhold information completely vanishes. So, in the hypothetical, this type of investigation into these pardons or into any of these things, for example, they can call, let's say, Dr. Fauci up to testify under oath, and he is completely subject to the laws of perjury, but not, and doesn't have Fifth Amendment protections. So he has to speak on these things honestly, and if they can trap him or anyone else in a lie about it, it basically will be a new crime of perjury that they can be done for.
yeah, I was aware of that. I think
as well, since the pardons only pertain to federal, as clearly demonstrated through the prosecutions of Trump. I think we also are possibly, if the Republicans release a lot of the information, because they could still hold the hearing, they could still do the investigation and just release it to the public. I think there's a lot of state issues that will come to play. As far as the J6 pardons, someone wrote in the chat, yeah, I do think they were warranted. It's not an absolute remission of guilt. Some of those individuals were never charged. They were just being held. They've been held for multiple years without any due process. And I don't think it's disrespectful to the cops. We didn't do this with BLM protests, so we didn't do it with what else? A shit ton of other protests. So we didn't do it with the anti-Semitic protests on college campuses. We didn't hold people like this. This is a little bit different. This was definitely government overreach to hold people without due process charges, allowing them to have access to attorney. There's a lot of violations that occurred there. I think the pardons were warranted because the government overreached.
I say the government underreached. I say it was an insurrection, and they all should have been charged as such. So I say it was an underreach by the government, and the pardon was not definitely not warranted.
The government didn't charge them. That's the issue. You held the government, this administration or Biden's administration held them without charging them, held them without rights, put them in solitary confinement without allowing them to go and argue for bail, or have a court case even on the dockets, presented charges to them. They just rounded them up and expanded that and drained their accounts financially. Um, I think we can all agree that that is, regardless of it, that is not within our Constitution. Those powers shouldn't have been granted, and that shouldn't have been allowed to stand. So, if it had been BLM protesters treated the same way, I would have argued for them in that case as well. I don't hold it back on any side. Um, the government has multiple times in history prosecuted people on bullshit and cases like people are upset about Marcus Garvey. It was a bullshit prosecution for mail fraud. It was complete crap, and his exile was bullshit as well. Biden pardoned him a lot late, but still, I don't agree with Marcus Garvey. I didn't agree with his political stances. I've read multiple histories on him, but still, I think the government overreached, and I think it was wrong.
Yeah, I still say it's an underreach because I think they should have been charged as insurrectionists or terrorists or both, and therefore they can be held without a lawyer and all the things you described. Like, but I get it was an overreach in the sense that they wasn't charged like that, but they should have been charged like that because it was definitely an insurrection, and they definitely should have been charged, treated like terrorists. And so I
That's a
think the
reach.
government underreached in that sense.
I think they
I think
should.
you're reaching in that sense. Some of those people were actually let in by the Capitol Police. And not only that, Trump was offered extra security because he knew the amount of people that were going to be around that area. And Nancy Pelosi, who they have actual letter, Trump had to put that letter out to claim, because you guys try to make it seem like he wanted people to storm the Capitol type stuff. Like, I just hate the overreach. And not only that, we know there was a lot of abuse of power. Like, these pro-life uh, protesters got arrested, a black woman, a lot of black people and the elderly, like, but when the left, they didn't prosecute. They actually freed the Minneapolis rioters. And I'm here in Minnesota, and these people put money together to get these rioters out that burned down black cities, North Minneapolis. They burned down grocery stores, Targets. You can look that up. That in black neighborhoods. So it's like, and they didn't even, black communities were without for a while, had to drive out. Like I hate the overreach. I'm sorry. Take a breath.
Just to be clear, I think that it was the largest entrapment piece that's ever been done against American citizens. I mean, anybody that unlocked the doors and let hordes of people in should be charged with entrapment. That includes the Capitol Police, anybody involved.
Hey,
I
Matt,
think
cool. How many people in jail right now that's been entrapped by the government? There's people the government used literally set up as terrorists, and that didn't change the fact that they got charged with terrorism.
So you would be
I mean,
you would be on my side then. You shouldn't be for entrapment. The government shouldn't be
but but
entrapping.
but but they do it all the time, though.
I know, and I don't agree with it. You should be. You're with me. You're making my
No,
point.
no, I'm not. I'm not with you. I mean, I'm not saying they entrapped them, but I'm saying that's not an argument because they do it all the time, and no one stands up for these terrorists. Which a lot of them are black men who have been entrapped by the government. No
So,
one has. No one
Hakeem,
has stood up. Okay,
Hakeem,
you
if
got
it
to
was
go
all
ahead. Go
black
ahead.
men in that building, would you be for entrapment charges?
If what? Say it again.
If it was all black individuals that stormed the Capitol, would you be for entrapment charges against those who did that?
They all would be dead if it's all black men.
Wait a minute. You want them all shot in the Capitol? All black men?
Well, I said that's the reality of what would have happened. If black people stormed the Capitol like that, they would all be dead.
That's that fear mongering production of propaganda. I'm sorry. Please excuse him.
So you would want your
Don't
you
excuse
would
me.
want your
How's that fear
government?
mongering for me giving an opinion about a way a situation would have happened? Well,
but you
where
didn't
am I supposed
There
to
answer
were
his
feel?
black
question
Gen
though.
Sixers that got arrested. It was this football player, a black football previous NFL player that got locked up as well. It's why wasn't he the only one shot? I don't understand. Like this is just we're arguing with hypotheticals at this
But
moment.
anyway, he didn't even answer the question. He just skirted it. I'm just saying. Like he asked you if the insurrectionists from January 6th were black, would you? What was the question? I don't know, but he didn't answer it.
Essentially, if the people that stormed the Capitol were of a different skin color, would he consider that entrapment of people by the government, which he has stated does happen? Would he consider that entrapment? He
I mean,
said that he'd rather see them
what
shot.
I don't think it was entrapment. So if black people got coerced or led or however you want to describe it, the identical to that, it wouldn't be a trap. I don't think that was entrapment.
Okay, and then also, let me just clear something up. You're saying that you would want your government to shoot those people.
No, I didn't want them to shoot them. I'm just saying, if it was black people, they would have shot them. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but you're against that, right? You're against shooting the individuals like that, right? I'm just wondering.
No, actually, insurrectionists should be shot. They should have shot every last one of them that ran in there aggressive. They should have been shot.
So what?
I'm
Back
so
to
confused. What's going on here?
well, this is a retarded conversation. We know it's retarded. I'd like to ask Brad a question about his point about Marcus Garvey. Brad, would you agree that the pardon of Marcus Garvey was good, but do you think that they also should have posthumously found him guilty of crimes against fashion for dressing like Captain Crunch?
Wait, say that, Captain Crunch.
Have you ever seen a fucking picture of Marcus Garvey? He dresses
Yeah,
like Captain Crunch because he
yeah.
was a fucking communist retard
I
who idolized Weimar Germany.
Yeah, he also had beliefs that the Ku Klux Klan was his friends. They had more in common with the Ku Klux Klan, but I think again I don't agree with all the 99% of what he said or stated, but what I'm against is just the prosecution of him under the guise of mail fraud and the way his prosecution went down, and then his exile. He advocated for black people to relocate to Liberia, despite the fact that he never himself went to Liberia or Africa itself. He ended up going to Jamaica, and that was the extent of his political thing. But uh, I mean, I just think it was a sham prosecution. I don't like it when the government does that, even against. I want a fair fight. I want to.
Even even against fashion criminals.
Even against fashion criminals.
I had a quick question. Christy Noem, governor of South Dakota, she was just confirmed the, what is it, Secretary of Homeland Is that Mayorkas's old position? Am I
Yes,
off on it? Okay, so he's still, is he a congressman? Is he still like around like Pelosi, or is he
no,
gone?
he's gone, gone.
Wow. Okay, roger that. I wonder if I don't think he got pardoned either. I think he was one of the ones Biden missed.
His is more incompetence than criminal. Um, his is absolutely, and um, I would say this: he's probably the scapegoat for the Biden administration's policies. So I'm sure I'm going to be honest. I have some inkling that Mayorkas probably offered pushback on a lot of things, but just he bent the knee and was like, "Whatever you want to, Daddy Biden." And I think that's where his issues are, is that he just did what the administration wanted, and not even Biden himself, but those that are around Biden's orbit. And I think he was also supremely incompetent in his role.
We have bigger issues to worry about. I want to know who brought the cocaine up in the White House, and I want to know who invited the bunch of bare-chested trans women on fucking Easter that were running around half naked on the front on the South Lawn. Like I want to know who did this to us over the last 4 years. I do think that there should be an investigation opened up.
Yeah, but since we're talking about the pardons, with the pardons, I think that it's got to be looked at who put the list together, because you know that Joe Biden didn't have the capacity to even remember, 5 names, let alone however many hundreds, that he pardoned.
Well, let's go one step further. Let's investigate who's been running the government this whole time. If we're going to do this investigation game, I can tell you right now, it wasn't Biden.
My issue is Fauci, like the pardon on him and the preemptive one, because I am aware, as many of you are, Fauci disobeyed Obama. Trump had no idea that we were doing gain of function research supported under US dollars, under the NIH, under the direction of Fauci. Obama ordered him to stop when Obama found out after H1N1, when he found out the swine flu epidemic. And Fauci restarted it under Obama's term at the end, and basically went forward and didn't tell Trump that this was going on. Nobody in the Trump orbit, because again, Fauci's head of his department, and you kind of put people in to run their departments. It's not a president's job to maintain the day-to-day functions. That just doesn't work that way. And I think Fauci does need to answer a lot more questions. Some of his recommendations, despite his fact that he's received wealth, his coordination with the World Health Organization, which I agree with us pulling out, because quite frankly, those guys in a pandemic clearly did not step up to the plate. They were not helpful, and they lied. They got caught lying to the entire fucking world. So I'm kind of on the side of, I'm definitely on the side of Trump on this. I really want to see the explanations brought forth and the evidence pulled out of Fauci, his and those that were working with him. And I really would like to see some of those people in the World Health Organization that helped lie about that also brought into question.
Hey, y'all don't find it odd that he was pardoned for a time period when Trump was president? Like the shit he did wasn't even under Biden. I just find it odd, and I don't want to go into conspiracy theories, but
Well,
but
the
without
shit was
without a
actually
conspiracy theory, the shit it's odd timing.
the shit actually happened under Obama, Trump, and continuing under Biden. So there's concerns across 3 administrations of what he did, because again, like I stated, Obama, to Obama's credit, was like, nah, we can't have this after the swine flu epidemic, which burnt itself out. It had nothing to do with anything with Fauci and all that stuff. Let's not forget, Fauci's the same motherfucker that was, when the AIDS epidemic was going on in this country, said if you had a person with HIV or AIDS in your house, you'll get it if you're going to end up getting it, so you need to remove them. And people who ended up with it were kicked out of homes. They were homeless. They had to go to hospitals and all that shit. This is fucking St. Fauci. So I don't trust him one iota. I don't like him. I never have. He raised a whole. He was also in part of the stigma that happened to the gay community. A lot of harm was caused by him and his actions in regards to our fellow American citizens. Um, and I'm not really on board with Fauci just being able to retain one of the highest paid positions in office while getting contributions from overseas and being able to conduct research the way he did, gain of function research, and be able to defy a presidential order. That part needs to be held accountable, but I don't think this nation will. And I think Biden giving him a pardon really was a slap in the face of two prior administrations and the world. I really think that that's what he'll go down for.
Change it. You can't change it, right? Once it's done, it's done.
States can prosecute him.
Oh, do you think they will?
We shall see. We'll see what drops. Let's see what information comes rolling out now.
Brad, did you see the rumor that Putin wants Fauci in exchange for ending the Ukraine war? I don't know if you saw that rumor.
I
He
make that
wants what?
trade.
Can you repeat that?
He wants Dr. Fauci. Putin does in exchange for obviously negotiating the end of the Ukraine war. He wants Dr. Fauci to be sent to him for charges.
Wow.
Personally, I would be okay with it. As an American, there's no way in fucking hell I'm giving one of my American citizens, no matter how much I hate them, over to fucking Russia. There's just not a fucking chance in this world. Like, Putin can go suck whatever snow monster he has in Siberia. I don't really fucking care. But it's odd. I just would like to see us really investigate and prosecute Fauci, because we're not the only country that does look at him as some sort of criminal element, or looking at him as blatantly lying, covering up things, and deceiving the global population, because a lot of the world was taking its lead from him and the United States at the time.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, Brad, but that man is not serving a day behind bars.
Probably a lot of truth to that, Adams. Good point.
That's because if he go down, they all go down. Like when I was making a point earlier, I wasn't pointing my finger at Trump. I was just showing like Biden pardoned Fauci for shit he did under Obama and under Trump. I mean, he's protecting all of them, including himself. So like, that's what I was getting at. Is that they all end on the COVID thing, and not one of them is
Hakeem,
innocent.
the man is 84. Okay, he's 80 fucking 4. Aside from that, do you know how many elite Democrat nut jobs would actually pay for that man's criminal defense? That case could take years. He'll be damn near 100 before they actually start that trial.
I think what we ought to have going forward is a check on our CDC and NIH and all of our health systems in this country to ensure, as much as I hate bloated government, there's based on two administrations, there clearly has not been oversight. Congress has advocated its role and its duties in terms of oversight of these areas, because if you're able to just ask for the budget and get it, and no one really questions what's going on there, and you are able, like, the audacity, like Milley did this to Trump and lied about, the number of troops in Syria. I think that's treasonous. I think he does deserve to stand trial for that. But my push on this is, you led to a global pandemic and you lied multiple times. You were caught lying. It's proven you've been lying. It's proven by documentation that you lied. I do not understand why Congress in itself has not set up a role and said, hey, hold on a moment. I don't want another pandemic. I don't know what the fuck you guys are really doing, but we're about to find out, because I'm going to bring experts from the United States and bring them in, and maybe even some other countries, ask them to come in, some of their leading researchers, and say, does this make sense? What is actually going on in the US? So we can find out if we're playing around with biological or viral entities and enhancing them for whatever purpose, we want to make sure that those are under lock and key. Like I think we just released or reactivated a 1,300-year-old virus out of Russia or some shit like that. I'm just saying, why? Like, what would be the purpose of that? I don't know what that thing did. I don't want it live in the United States. I don't want it live anywhere in the world. That shit, I don't know what it is. All right, Matt, what's the next one?
Good question. Um, do we have a place to go look at what Trump has signed? All the EOs. Has anybody figured out a resource? I'm sure
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
White House. You can go look it up. You can go see it. It takes you a while. It's a lot of executive orders. People are breaking them down, but you can go read them.
Cool.
Go.
Yeah, I didn't even bother to go look yet. I'm gonna go do it right now. In fact, I'll pin it up top if you want to look at it. Yeah.
Some of them are boring. Some of them just have to do with administration functionality. So, um, go through. He's rescinded a lot of, like, I think virtually all of Joe Biden's policies, EOs. Those are done. So Biden won't have anything to carry on with his legacy. Um, I think Biden's going to be a footnote in history, um, and probably a negative footnote. They're going to talk about Trump's 2 terms, and they're going to be like, there was this great pandemic. Trump served in these time frames, and if he's successful in the second term of, reshaping and bringing America up to an economic um, freedom that people had prior to the pandemic, he'll be heralded and set down as the man who steered America through one of its darkest times. And Biden will be a negative footnote in that history connotation.
So what do you make of presidents doing EOs? Uh, like a lot of them. Is this gonna be? I don't know. I heard someone making a case the other day that it's like this is all they do now, or like what's the blowback of doing this? Is my question, I guess.
So this is funny. So a lot of people, I've heard a couple of guys on this app and others say, "Oh yeah, that's all they do is governed by EOs." No, FDR has the most in fucking history. Like absolutely, it's not even there. You can add up the last like 20 presidents, and they still won't touch fucking FDR's use of executive orders. That's how much. Um, Actually, in fact, since I want to say Carter going forward, the executive orders have actually streamed down. They trended down. There's not as many being offered. Now we're in Trump's second term, technically, so we'll have to wait and see what that final number is. He has signed a lot right now, so that number is going to climb. I think he was around 200 and something in his presidency. Obama was higher than he was. Biden was, I think, I'll have to look at this, the list again. He may have either been slightly ahead of Trump or slightly behind Trump. So they weren't really significant. Trump wasn't even in the top 10 for the most executive orders. So, when we look at EOs, just know that the presidents today are just not writing executive orders like they did in I'd say the from 1920 to 1960s, 70s.
So yeah, I didn't realize that. So this is not abnormal, nor is it abnormal, like in terms of like the amount so far in comparison with the other individuals that you mentioned there. I didn't even. It's good to put it in perspective because people will be like, "Well, God, I mean, this is day 5 or whatever, and we have this many already." Like, you know how people get. So it's good to know that actually.
Yeah, like executive orders can pertain to like governance within the Pentagon itself, like a change in direction. An executive order can be something, you know, with ending, an FBI probe or a department. Like there's a lot of administration capabilities under the executive orders that will go through. It could be upending, such as what happened to Lyndon, Nixon, and Biden. A lot of their executive orders were just destroyed, for lack of a better term. So Trump's basically, issuing executive orders to run his presidency the way he wants to. And I think he'll set a great precedent going forward that when you elect an individual, that the individuals are now going to take what they were rolled in on, the mandate that the American people gave them to do. They're going to go through and they're going to, you know, end programs and end things or challenge things in order to get that electorate what they asked for. So this should be interesting.
Right. Which one do you think will have the biggest impact the quickest? Do you think? Because I mean, all this stuff takes time. I mean, for a lot of these EOs, probably won't even see. We won't even see anything relevant to it till the end of his term, almost probably in a lot of ways, But off the gate, or if you can think of something, what do you think? Maybe the border it might be the first one, or what? What do you think?
DEI was probably the first one that had the greatest significant impact across all federal agencies. Those rolling those out and canceling, like again, Lyndon and Nixon's, mandated quotas and those kind of rules. Those will have a significant impact. You're already seeing that within the federal government because people are changing their titles from DEI director, DEI executive, DEI secretary to office administration, office personnel. They've lost their roles somehow, and a lot of them have been sent on leave. They'll be terminated shortly. So I think that's going to have a direct impact on it, and it'll have a situation going forward. Trump's challenge to the birthright citizenship, I think, is an interesting one. I think there is sound argument to bring it forth before the Supreme Court. I know a lot of people are going to say the 14th Amendment applies to everybody, and it's been that way for 100 years or longer. I'm going to push back and say, no, it hasn't. We didn't apply the 14th Amendment to all peoples of this land at any given point since its inception in 1868. We never did that shit.
And it hasn't been challenged, right? This is the first time in a long time, right? Or was there one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been challenged, but there's different sections
Mm.
to the 14th Amendment. Sometimes it's incorporated into multiple other arguments. So there's challenges to it. What Trump's argument is very unique. This is the first challenge of this type to go against what to basically interpret what the Constitution is saying and what those that implemented the 18th Amendment meant. The key phrase here is those that are subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. So the argument that I believe, is going to be made is that couples who are non-American citizenship or non-naturalization that come here and have a child, that child is not automatically a subject of the United States. And I think there's some room to that because we actually had it that way until about 1924. And then we kind of opened it up a bit. Then we closed it down to, a whole lot of Asians on the West Coast till about 1965, I want to say. States were like kind of cherry picking on that one. And then 1968 maybe. And then we opened it up again. And then we kind of were not giving, quote, the 14th Amendment to everybody. So there's our American government cherry picks who it is. I think this is an interesting argument. I think there's a sound argument to be made there, and I'm really excited.